This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see all sorts of other podcasts from our great friends. And if you want to learn how to create your own podcast, they can provide you with all the tools and resources to do so there. So please head to aratemedia.org. That's A-R-T-E media.org. On with the show, Jordan.
On with the show. This is it.
Welcome, everybody, to the Spur of the Moment podcast. I am your host, as always. I am Justin Spurr, and I am joined by my host. It is the incomparable Jordan. How is the incomparable Jordan doing today?
Pretty incomparable.
So, on today's show, we got the title for Jurassic Park 4. There's a new Wallace and Gromit movie. We're going to talk about the Sonic 3 trailer. Scream. Screamboat Willie trailer. And much more. And then later, we've each picked a director. We're going to talk about their filmography. It's a couple of prolific guys. That's going to be fun. But first, I know I like to save comment readings for the end of the show, but you know what? Maybe we're going to change things up. Maybe we'll do it whenever I feel like it. And at the beginning of the show. So I got a comment on.
I mean, you're the boss. You literally make the rules.
I do make the rules. So before we get into the news,
you do literally hold all the power.
Before we get into the news, I want to read a comment off of one of our videos. I know last week I promised I'd have a 2-part video of our Ultraman versus Super Sentai that came out, and I do. And someone left a comment. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their whole name because it's very long, so I'm just going to pronounce kind of the first part of it, which is Adham. I'm going to turn this however long it turns out to be, hopefully just a short, and I will tag you in this, because I feel like I should respond. I did kind of respond to what you said in a comment, but I feel like we should respond on the show. So, I won't read the whole comment, but the general gist of it is that they felt that I knew nothing about Ultraman, and that I had painted it in kind of a bad light, and I kind of had reduced it to he just kind of fights a kaiju every episode, and that yeah, it was that, but it's about the individual drama. And you're absolutely right, that is what these shows are about. It's about the individual drama amongst the characters, and if you're not like 100% invested in it, now okay, I think I did reduce it to he's just kind of Godzilla but a guy, but I love Godzilla, so like him being just Godzilla but a guy does not decrease it in quality for me. I like it. I loved it just as much as I love Godzilla.
So here's where I want to jump into and say the big thing to note here, another thing to note here, is that this was kind of your real first foray into that.
Yeah.
And so it has to sell you, and you're giving your first impressions as a person who has not experienced it.
Right.
So yeah, no, you're not knowledgeable on it. You're not familiar with it, and this is, for once, you're the layman who's coming into a thing and trying to appreciate it for what it's supposed to be, and it's not your fault if it didn't do a good enough job.
Well, also the idea with that discussion was they were both kind of anniversary seasons, and it was to compare which was a more effective season in terms of being like, this is my first foray into this, and I feel like Gokaiger is still way more effective at that. But I did sort of bring up my favorite episodes, and I didn't mention them because yeah, there are, much like any one of these series, individual episodes that are very, very fun. There weren't as many as that stuck with me, or drama points that stuck with me. Like my 2 favorite episodes, I didn't mention them, but are in Ultraman Ginga S. In the later half of the season, there's an episode where a young boy and one of the monsters, they develop a relationship and become like really close friends, and it's really touching when the monster just kind of dies at the end coldly. The kid is a really powerful actor. And then my other favorite episode is the one that's immediately after that, which is about an alien who is supposed to come and infiltrate this like pop star's inner circle as part of a bid to take over the world. And he like falls in love with her and like humanity and music, and it's really fun. And there's just a lot of really fun shots of like the silly like guy in a monster costume just doing really dumb dancing, and it's really, really fun. So yeah, the show's fun. It just doesn't work for me in the same way that like a Kamen Rider or an Ultraman does. And also, it does have a weirdly convoluted lore and history. And yeah, I really, yeah, well, maybe one day we'll revisit we'll revisit it. But yeah,
I
I
feel
will
like
acknowledge I wasn't as fair to it as maybe I could have been.
I feel like it's like a fair it's you can compare it to any show that's been on for many, many, many years. Like for example with Doctor Who, when Doctor Who came back, like after being off for however long, and the Ninth Doctor came in, Eccleston, they had to kind of figure out a way to attract in a newer crowd.
Yeah.
And if this is supposed to be an anniversary one for what we did last time, then yeah, it should be capable of making you appreciate all of the history while not going too deep and while being able to be kind of surface level. That's kind of the point of an anniversary
Yeah.
special is to draw in the newer fans while having stuff in there that the older fans can appreciate. And so
Exactly.
again I say there have been many examples of shows that do that very well, and it's not your fault if this one didn't do as good of a job.
I mean, yeah, I just say I didn't find, like I say, I didn't find with these seasons. And hey, maybe like there's another season. If I'll put it to you this way, I'll put it to you this way, Adham, what is your favorite Ultraman season? What would you recommend if you were to be like, as an Ultraman fan, if you were to be like, if I were to ask you where's my entry point into this, I've seen the part of the first season, I've seen a little bit of Ultra, but in the modern era, where's the best entry point into this franchise? Let me know in a comment. This, I think, it's slightly longer than a minute, so it's probably gonna end up being just a regular 2 to 3 minute YouTube video. But I'm curious what you have to say. I'm gonna tag you in this if I can. Let me know. With that, let's move on to the news. I just looked at the timer. That was a whole almost 7 minutes. Oh, right. That's very funny. Anyway, let's start with, what is Jurassic Park 4 going to be called, Jordan? I literally have no idea. What do you think? Let's take a crack. What do you think it's going to be called?
So this is after the extinction?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's a sequel or if it's a reboot. It says 4, but this is a media article, so you don't know what that's going to be. Also, it's not allowed to have 4 in it. It can't have the number 4 in it.
Jurassic World New World Order?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I'm gonna go Jurassic World Second Coming.
Okay.
Yeah, because all the dinosaurs have died and they're coming back now.
Or another one that would be okay is Jurassic World Age of the Dinosaur.
Your first one was better.
I like the first one.
Yeah, your
more.
first one was better.
You take one.
You take one. Yeah, take one was good. Apparently on, I just love how it says the Jurassic World account on X brackets, formerly Twitter. It's very funny. So yeah, Scarlett Johansson is in it. These articles are always useless. Come on.
Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm close.
Who does Scarlett Johansson play?
I have no idea. It just says she's in it.
Isn't the main one from Jurassic World? Who was she? The name I want.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
The name that, for whatever reason, the name that was coming to mind was Kate Blanchett, and no, I'm like, I know that's not right.
To my understanding, this was supposed to be a reboot. I don't know why it's still called Jurassic World. Like they were going to start from scratch, but it's going to be called Jurassic World: Rebirth. So I was the closest.
I like mine better.
I do like yours better. Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm not particularly interested in that, but okay, sure, fine, why not?
I mean, I'd be okay with a complete reboot and do like another retelling, but how many times can you tell man creates theme park and it doesn't work?
Yeah, right? Like,
I mean, unless you start bringing in other prehistoric animals and have it be like dinosaurs and mammoths and like saber-toothed tigers and like all these other animals, but then at that point it sort of stops being Jurassic Park.
Right, exactly. That's my thing. All right, I'm just come on. I want solid.
So light. There's that.
There is that. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Next, apparently, Jordan, there's gonna be a new Wallace and Gromit movie.
Okay.
It's gonna be called.
I like Wallace and Gromit, but I
right?
was never the biggest fan of it. It
I,
was just kind of a thing that existed.
right? It's gonna be called Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, like as in the bird. And
Ah,
what is it about? I did not actually read this. It
see,
says
that's where they gotta have it be vengeance most foul, and you gotta have like some of the chickens from Chicken Run show up.
that would be fun.
Have it be a crossover with Chicken Run.
Oh, apparently the original voice of oh that must be why they haven't done anything with those
Have it
characters.
have it
Apparently
have it take place have it take place before the first Chicken Run, and have them go to the farm that they're on and
have
get into wacky
have no they
misadventures.
should just have it like be one cameo or that he walks by the farm. It's like one of the scenes from Chicken Run, and Wallace can just be like they're organized.
Them's
They're
organized.
organized. But yeah, apparently the original voice of Wallace, Peter Salas, died in 2017, so he's been recast in this movie.
Oh,
It said, okay,
okay.
here's what it's about. It says, in this installment, Gromit's concern that Wallace is becoming too dependent on his inventions proves justified when Wallace invents a, quote, smart gnome that seems to develop a mind of its own. When it emerges that a vengeful figure from the past may be masterminding things, it falls to Gromit to battle the sinister forces and save his master, or Wallace may never be able to invent again. That actually sounds pretty fun.
That sounds
I
fun.
haven't seen the first one. My thing with Wallace and Gromit
Oh,
is
this might be a hot take from Arete Media. Wallace and Gromit is trash.
what? Oh, coming in with the fiery take today. Okay. I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen the Were Rabbit movie in its entirety, but I love the wrong trousers. That's a great short. When he's like, oh, he's got the wrong trousers, Gromit. I don't know. Maybe it's because I just like I have a
I
thing for British humor. I don't know. It just works for me.
I haven't watched Wallace and Gromit since I was a young lad. It's been a long
Will
time.
I say that
But
there are better stop motion things out there? Absolutely. But
I remember enjoying it as a kid. I don't know if I would feel the same way as an adult,
I mean,
but I tend to like British humor,
yeah.
and
Like
so
I
I
tend to think that
usually
Leica is
enjoy it.
doing more interesting stuff with stop motion, but Aardman kind of pioneered it. Without Wallace and Gromit, you don't really get Leica. So like they're kind of like the godfather of stop motion animated movies or animated stuff anyway. Well, I mean, other than I
Uh,
suppose The Nightmare Before Christmas, but even then.
Already Media says, mediocre stop motion, bad writing, and British accents. What's not to hate?
I think it's because we're Canadian and we're like just that much closer to being British.
We're one step from British, so
I mean, he's
I
right. It's not
I
the
don't
it's not.
know.
They're, like I say, Leica is doing better stuff in stop animation. Like, um, Kubo and the Two Strings is I think one of the greatest pieces of like 2D animation ever put to film. Like, there's a really
I
cool
mean,
sequence at the
I
end where they
still
show how they do it. It's incredible.
I still swear by Paranorman.
Paranorman got robbed at the fucking Oscars, and I will never let that go. It got robbed. It deserved Best Animated Feature the year it was nominated. Brave did not deserve it. Disney bought that Oscar, and I stand by it.
Spoiler alerts for Paranorman. Maybe one day I'll have an opportunity to watch it on here and do a deep dive. But that final scene where he's talking with the
Oh, it's so
poltergeist
good.
girl, so good, so
So
good.
good.
Love that scene.
That's Leica. Yeah, we might have to do an animation studios that aren't Disney. Disney or DreamWorks, because then I can do Blue Sky, and then you can do Leica if you
Give
want.
give us give us an opportunity to talk
Yeah,
about
I
some of
would
those
love to talk
ones.
about those Leica movies. Although, man, I would love to watch those Leica movies. They are phenomenal. Um. Anyway, Jordan, they have apparently set a date for that new Wizards of.
So Jake Arete Media says the Queen is on your money, lol.
It is
And
true.
then well, now it's the King,
Yeah,
but and then said, "See, Paranorman was awesome.
yeah, that
We
movie's
can
so
agree
good.
on we can agree on
Yeah,
that."
Leica is I don't know, both underrated and correctly rated at the same time. Not enough people are watching their movies. If you have not seen Kubo and the Two Strings, go watch Kubo. You know what?
That's it. That's a good one.
Yeah, not next week because I have a plan for next week. Maybe the week after we'll do that animation episode. We'll talk about some Leica movies. But Jordan, the Wizards of Waverly Place Beyond Waverly Place release date. Jordan, it's coming out Halloween of this year, October 29th.
Sorry. Uh, I'll get back to that comment in a second. What did you say about
The Wizards of Waverly Place show, Beyond Waverly Place. The
one you mean David? You mean David Henry's
Vanity Project? Yes.
Vanity Project.
Yeah, he.
Sorry, I have to respond to Arete Media. I'd be down to talk non-Disney animation. I have a fascination with the career of Don Bluth.
Oh, okay.
And then he follows up with, "Wait, is the king on your money now?" Yeah, I think he has been for a bit.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure.
Now? I don't ever take out cash, so I literally have no
idea. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember hearing news a while back about how like they were doing new coins and stuff that have him on it, and like they were minting new money.
But Jake, if you want, we could set something up where Jordan can take one of us, me or Jordan will take Leica, the other one will take Blue Sky, and if you want the works of Don Bluth, we take all comers.
He's got some classics.
We've touched on some Don Bluth in the past, but we can always talk about him again. There's lots of, like, we didn't talk about like the Swan Princess or Nymph.
There's a lot of ones we didn't do. We didn't do Troll in Central Park. We didn't touch on what was it, Dragon's Tail, the video game?
No, we didn't talk about Dragon's Tail. No, not Dragon's Lair.
Or Dragon's Lair.
That's history.
Yeah, we didn't. There's a lot of his stuff that we haven't touched on.
Jake, I'll have my people call your people. I'm my people.
No, Justin. I'll have my people call his people. Justin's my people.
I'm his people. Because that'll be fun, but not next week because I already have a plan for next week. So, but it'll probably be the week after.
He says I'll take Dawn.
Okay, that sounds good.
Challenge extended. Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. So, Wizards of Waverly Place, Jordan, is coming out in October on Halloween.
David Henry
Vanity Project. Yeah.
Right. We can agree on that, right? Like, there's no two ways about it.
Having only seen one commercial or trailer from it, and considering it just looks like she's in the one scene, it just kind of seems like it really reminds me of that '90s show where it's like the characters from the old show just kind of dump her off, and two characters from the original show hang out, but the rest just kind of dip in and out. That's kind of what this looks like. Like, it's like everyone's like, oh, but the dad and the chick on the podcast. It's like, well, the dad's there. He's in the trailer. So sure enough, the chick from the podcast is going to show up eventually. Would not be surprised.
Was he in the? Was he in the trailer?
Yeah, there's a shot. I don't think there's any scenes, but there's a shot of it behind the scenes of him like hugging him from behind, and he's like, "I'm the grandpa now."
Reddit Media says we should make Haley research DreamWorks just to be asses, lol. And come on.
I mean, I can ask her. I did consider DreamWorks. The only reason why I didn't say DreamWorks because I was like, DreamWorks feels obvious. When you're not Disney, you're DreamWorks.
Ignorance here. Does she not like DreamWorks?
No, she's the Disney person. That's kind of her whole bit.
Got it.
Yeah. And the aim here is to not do Disney. Although I do want to do obscure Disney shit one day. That is a goal of mine.
Arete says apparently that '90s show does a Doug fantasy sequence with Leia.
Really? Weird. It took me way too because on that show it's the foreman. It's about his daughter, and the daughter is named Leia. And I watched like way too many clips of it before I put together why her name was Leia, and I felt really dumb.
Like from Star Wars?
Yeah, he's really into Star Wars. Yeah, that's the whole bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like it takes place, I think, well, at least one of the seasons is in and around when the original Star Wars comes out. So he becomes really into Star Wars. I don't know.
Fair enough, Arete Media. He says it's just that DreamWorks was a middle finger to Disney and Michael Eisner.
It absolutely was. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen Shrek, Farquaad. That's supposed to be a dig at Michael Eisner, but also Jeffrey Katzenberg also sucks. So they both kind of suck. So they're just CEOs who suck. Katzenberg is the whole reason for the whole Robin Williams screwing over Robin Williams thing. That's a whole other story. Anyway, next story, Jordan. Jake's not even on the show this week and he's derailing. I'm kidding. That was a joke.
David Henry Vanity Project. We can agree that that's kind of just mediocre looking, right?
It looks about the same as the original. I mean, I don't think any of
mediocre looking.
My thing with a lot of these Disney reboots, like, and it was kind of the same thing with Girl Meets World, where none of and Raven's Home, none of the new cast is as charismatic as the people who are coming back from the original show. So like none of the like the show wants like Raven's Home. The show wants to be, and that one splits it a bit better, but it wants to be about the kids and it wants to transition to being about the kids and let Raven do that. But Raven's the funniest character on that show, so it just kind of doesn't work. And it's going to be the same thing here, where I guarantee you, Selena Gomez and David Henry will be the most interesting thing on this show.
Arete Media says, "Hey, Cats gave us the Prince of Egypt, kind of, sort of, whatever." It was Spielberg.
Yeah, that was mostly Spielberg. A lot of the good shit that came from well, I mean, yeah, he did a lot of there's a really great I always sing her praises, and I will continue to do so. But Lindsay Ellis, she has a really great video about Hercules. That really illustrates how much Jeffrey Katzenberg sucks, and I can't cite specific details from it right at this moment, but it's really good. It's on YouTube. You should check it out. Maybe I'll put in the description of this if I remember. Anyway, so Jordan, guess what's getting a TV show and a movie adaptation, and you're going to be like, you know what, that makes sense. I guarantee you will be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Give me a subject idea of what it is here. Is it Disney? Is it?
It's well, okay, Jordan. I'll give you a hint. It's based off a video game about a man with a name that starts with A and ends with N.
Aladdin?
No. Video game. Prominent video game character. Opposite of sleep.
Awaken? Alan Wake.
There you go. They're making an Alan Wake show, Jordan. And a Control, which is also, I guess, in the same universe. So my question for that, Jordan.
Took my brain a second there.
That's kind of a video game that just kind of suits like a procedural style, like at least based on vibes.
I don't really know that much about Alan Wake, I'm not gonna lie.
From what I understand, it's like, wait, does this actually give a... Hold on. Does this article say what it's about?
Also, speaking of video games, we're going to talk about that one Amazon show I showed you the trailer of, right?
Oh yeah, that weird, yeah, we will in a sec. We'll do that next. To my understanding, it's basically like he's a mystery writer and he hunts ghosts or whatever. Like that's how I understand it. But more, I just included it to be like, do you think they're going to do a musical episode? And you think the old Guardians of Asgard will be there in that show? Do you think they're going to show up?
Yes.
They're the ones who sing the song I showed you from the second game.
Oh.
They're apparently
yeah, probably then.
They apparently show up in like every single game that company makes. They're like a house band or something.
So they're like level 100 Tauren chieftain.
I think so, if I understand correctly.
Elite?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Some version of that.
But yeah, that Amazon show. Do you remember what that Amazon show was called?
Hold on.
Yeah, it's like an anthology series where they're doing video game characters, but like serious. It's like those old YouTube videos where they were like, "What if we did Pac-Man, but it was really serious?" That's what it is, and it actually looks interesting to me, anyway, as a guy who likes shit subverted.
I think it was called Secret Level.
Oh, okay, yeah, Secret
Level.
Yeah,
Secret Level.
I think the most shocking thing about that is that, just from a licensing standpoint, that anyone allowed that to happen.
Yeah, so I read a little bit into it, and from what I understand, yeah, it's an anthology series where each episode is about whatever character and world is like. So like one of them is going to be Mega Man. One of them, there's a whole list of what was in that trailer.
I think it was Uncharted.
I'm not sure about that, but I know.
I swore I saw Nathan Drake in the trailer.
I know there's Kratos. I know there's Mega Man. I know there's a lot. There's a lot of different.
It's so
ones.
Brilliant though, because like, why has no one ever thought of this before? Because like,
each one is an anthology episode.
Yeah, do an anthology. Let a different person take. They're different, like a different creative team. Like take a character or property, and whatever one land, like Nintendo should do this. Like whatever lands, make that into a show instead of like putting out a show you're unsure about. Put out one of these anthology episodes and then test the water to see who's interested in more. Like it's brilliant. Like don't make a full bore God of War show. Make one episode, see what people are feeling like for the tone of a God of War show, and then like if that creative team is working, go with that. Like it's a really good idea.
I guarantee you that's probably the idea with this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Amazon Prime, stupid they are not. If one episode is very well received, it will absolutely maybe like be green light for a full thing.
Yeah,
they were 8 episodes or something.
They were they were gonna make a God of War show, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's what this was. That became this.
My question is just like, uh, and this is where it's also they can do whatever they want theoretically. What episode length do you think there'll be, or do you think each one will be a different episode length depending on the story?
Everyone will probably be a different episode length, and it'll be irritating. But my thing is an hour. Show like that, I want an hour.
Yeah,
I know I say I don't like hour long episodes of television, but it's different when it's anthology and it's like you're basically doing a short film. Um,
yeah,
at that
I would
point,
agree with
I want
that.
like 40 minutes is never enough. Like, yeah, when it comes to Black
I
Mirror,
want to.
it's like
I want.
40 minutes is never enough.
I would like at least an hour for those.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
make me a movie.
exactly. Did I open up? Oh, apparently I did. I was like, oh, we still have so much news and one story. Anyway, so let's do some trailer roundup, Jordan.
Trailer roundup. Heyo, it's time to
Or no,
go.
maybe not. No, yeah, let's see. No. One more story before we do. We'll end on trailer roundup. So there's some photos that have leaked of the Fantastic Four. Have you seen them? The suits.
No.
I don't. I wish I had shown them to you now. I don't love them. I don't hate them. They're definitely like.
Does that include Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom?
No, just the Fantastic Four for now. But it's like I'll do my best to just or you know what?
I mean, isn't their suit just a
can
blue?
you see that picture?
No, you're not even in frame for me.
Uh,
Oh, oh. Okay, so it's like white and blue.
yeah, like light blue and white across the top. I don't love it. I don't.
Arete Media says, "Ooh, are we gonna see some hotkeys action?"
The hotkeys have not worked for me so far, Jake. I've been experimenting with them. They're not working so great. But maybe another
No,
time.
but that suit, I mean, I just want the classic solid blue with the number on their chest.
Right, yeah,
What's
that's
wrong with that?
right. Well, this is apparently a reference to a particular run of the Fantastic Four, but yeah, I don't love the white, and I don't love I don't love the light blue.
No.
I'm not a fan of it, but I love the fact that the thing is practical. Like
Yeah.
it's a practical suit. My hope is that it's like a blend where like it's a practical suit because I think Deadpool is kind of the best blend of like real life costume to like CGI ratio where it's like he's it's mostly a real suit, but they just use CGI to like make the eyes move or like punch up the details. So if it's like mostly a real prosthetic and you just use CGI to punch up like mouth movements and stuff, I'm all for it. Like I'm like that's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, technology has come far since the
I
last
just like the
time we
way I like
had
the way the thing
a
looks.
thing.
Yeah,
Technology has come far, so I expect better than last time. Is kind
yeah,
of the point.
right. So yeah, I
And
think that's
I don't want a fully naked man, made of rocks running
no.
around. I want him in a suit.
He's wearing a suit. He's very much wearing a suit. And
Yeah,
my thing is like I'm glad that
good.
they have suits, and I'm glad that this is kind of coming in. We're not doing the origin story again, and I'm thankful for that because yeah, I'm glad that we are whether or not I like them, at least we're getting suits.
Yeah, I don't think we really need the origin again. That's kind
No.
of the thing that they've learned with like say what you will about the Marvel movie making machine. They have learned that you don't like for some of the characters anyway, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to show
You
their
could just do it
backstories.
in a flashback or just have them say what happened. Like you don't really need to.
Yeah.
But also the flip side of that is, but then some people are dumb and don't get that like Uncle Ben is in the MCU and there's multiple references to them and they're like, oh, we need Uncle Ben. No, Uncle Ben already happened. He references it in Civil War. He says, when you do the things I do and the bad things happen, and then in Homecoming, he mentions how what happened last year. There are clear references to Uncle Ben. If you missed that, media literacy is truly dead. Moving on. Let's do trailer roundup before we end the news.
Trailer roundup.
Oops.
Hey ho, it's time to go.
I didn't send you these ones because it's the third one in a sequence that you haven't seen yet. But I'm gonna get you to watch the Terrifier movies maybe for Halloween. Maybe we'll do more than one Halloween episode. In fact, I think we might. We might do a month of Halloween episodes for fun.
So four Halloween episodes in a row.
At least two, because I'd like you to watch the Terrifier movies. But Terrifier 3, and if it comes to theaters, I kind of want to watch Terrifier 3 in theaters. The trailer for that came out, and it's just as nasty as you think it's going to be. It looks really gnarly. It looks really bloody. Those movies are like They're everything I like about slasher flicks, like ratcheted up to 11. If you like a good slasher flick, they're very fun movies. I hate saying that about movies where people get killed bloody. Here's what I will say to prime you for, Jordan.
Boy, do they bleed? Yeah, I'm nuts.
It's the first slasher flick that legitimately in the first one I had to be like, stop, please, stop. I get it. Stop, please. I'm begging you. Like, I don't think the second one is as good as the first one. I think the first one's the best one, but they're all very. He's a very fun character. The actor who plays I the only reason why I included Terrifiers as kind of a lead in to another trailer I did share with you. The actor who plays Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton. He played the Grinch in that Grinch horror movie that we talked about.
Yeah,
the one that I said was really fun, and he's so much fun. He's a very fun actor. He's like a really great physical kind of actor, like comedy kind of actor that lends itself really well to these horror characters. So I sent you Screamboat, and you immediately were like, "No, thank you." And while on the one hand, I fully understand what you mean. I fully get it. I fully appreciate your perspective here. I think it looks fun.
No.
I love the trailer.
No. I decline. I desist. I reject it.
I want to see what the costume looks like before I render full judgment. I'm hoping it's a really bad CGI character, but if David Howard Thornton is playing, it's probably going to be a costume character. But I love the trailer. I love how the trailer is like he's been locked away for 40 years and now he's free. I enjoyed the reference to Turkey in the Straw like we asked for. It's kind of given me everything I wanted out of one of these. So I'm like, if we must make one of these, this one looks fun and I will absolutely watch it.
I need more than a teaser trailer. I hate it on concept, and that makes me immediately say no. I need a proper trailer to really wow me.
Maybe for Halloween, when does this come out?
You might have to force me to watch this.
Oh, it's not coming out until 2025, lame.
Well, then next year.
Because I'd like to watch the second Blood and Honey. That first one was so bad, and I hear the second one's like genuinely really good. So I want to watch it, and I just can't do it without a reason to.
But on concept, I need us to acknowledge that.
I'm not a lover of it. No, I mean I'm warming up to it because people are doing interesting stuff with it. But my thing is like if you're gonna do something interesting with it. That's it. That's all I ever ask for. And then lastly, it's funny. I have two last articles, and one of them is just explaining who Shadow the Hedgehog is and what his deal is. So we're gonna get rid of that. And we're just going to talk about the Sonic Hedgehog the 3 trailer and how good a trailer that was and how it looks fun.
It's a fantastic trailer. Keanu Reeves looks fantastic as Shadow. And apparently I found out, fun fact, which you may or may not know. I don't know if it's all of them, but certainly some of the animators that worked on that original Shadow the Hedgehog game, the PlayStation 2 one, they're the ones that have done the animation for Shadow in this movie.
Yeah, I saw a really fun side-by-side. With the director being like, yeah, and it's like, yeah, man, it looks great. Like Shadow looks great. They all look great, but Shadow in particular, there's a love paid. And Keanu Reeves, man, John Wick. If you had told me Neo would be Shadow the flippin' Hedgehog, I would have told you were nuts. And I knew what the Matrix was when I played those games. I had to do the math on the dates, but I was like, I knew what it was.
And so another fun thing that I saw a TikTok where someone, and I don't know that I see it, but I'm hoping it's true, is in the scene, in the shot in the trailer, people basically think that there's some Spider-Man No Way Home trickery going on, which would be even easier because they're CG characters and it's just very easy to hide a thing like that.
I mean, so it's No Way Home, but I get the
point. But there's a shot where it's over Shadow's shoulder and you see the 3 Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, but they're not centered. They're like off to the side, and people are saying that like there's enough space there for there to be another character. And people are saying that you can see a shadow of another character. Pardon the expression.
Yeah, who do they think it is?
People are saying that, and this is the reason why they're bringing back Eggman. People are and why you see Sonic give Eggman one of his quills.
I know where you're going with this.
People are saying that that they think there's gonna be Metal Sonic.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that people think that the big final bad is going to be Metal Sonic, which like
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, just out on the fact that the last movie had Egg Robo, like a screen accurate Egg Robo. It would not surprise me. However, like yeah, it's a thing suitably that like it can go rogue, and then Shadow and Sonic need to team up to beat it. But I'm kind of hoping maybe that's just I really want them to do BioLizard and Final Hazard. Like it would disappoint me if they didn't.
I want them to do Biohazard and the Final Hazard and all that, but I see it. I see there being a world where he creates Metal Sonic, and instead of them doing the Biohazard, we get the Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes.
Ooh, okay, that would be pretty fun. Because for certainly, yeah, that it does make. I saw people's justification of you see the Quill, they're teaming up, having to beat Shadow.
I'm
would
losing
give them.
you.
Am I back?
Sorry, hold on. Can I hear you? Can you talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, but I can't see you. But that's fine.
Yeah, showing that I was
You'll
saying.
catch up.
I was just saying. I can see all the reasoning. The Quill having to fight Shadow is a suitable reason for it would explain them trying to having to bring back like yeah, and he really is whooping him. But that's my one thing with this trailer. It looks suitably dark and fun, and the tone is great. Until Jim Carrey shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, right. There goes all the tension in the room. Even made even worse by we haven't even gotten to the end of the trailer yet.
And so and that's where I'm gonna get to that. The part of the reason why I could believe that they do Metal Sonic is because I could see it being a thing where Gerald Robotnik, and this would explain why he has to be alive. In this version, Gerald Robotnik helps Dr. Robotnik build Metal Sonic, and that's why he goes crazy and becomes the Metal Overlord, is because Gerald is filled with vengeance like he is in the game, and he's pretending to be crazy and eccentric like we see in the trailer, and he programs Metal Sonic to go off the rails and become Metal Sonic to destroy the world.
Well, I could certainly see like yeah, if we're gonna if we're going with the route of they find Shadow when he somehow winds up on our planet, he from Sonic Planet, like it looks like, which called it by the way, if that's true. And they're trying to create their own Sonic, then yeah, it stands to reason they would have a Metal Sonic. I want to see Metal Sonic on the big screen, so like I'm not against it. It just would be more disappointing if they did.
Either way,
we're getting Super Shadow, like it's happening.
I want them to just do Sonic Adventure 2.
Pretty
that's
much,
really all I want. I just want a big
thing,
screen version of that.
If it was Metal Sonic, it wouldn't really be a But also there was I don't know the scenes they're talking about, but Amy could still be in this.
That's the other theory, is that spot is Amy.
Yeah.
Because Amy plays such a big role in Shadow and turning him around.
Yeah.
So the two leading theories are in that scene, that spot, that it's either Metal Sonic or that it's Amy, and I personally think that it's Amy.
I mean, there's so many rumors of it being like they go to Egypt or whatever and they find Amy. That like yeah, it would make sense. Yeah. Makes sense.
Or it could be Rouge the Bat, for all we know.
Or it could be Rouge the Bat. Yeah, very well could be. But yeah, I don't love that Jim Carrey's Gerald Robotnik. Don't love that. Don't love that he's alive.
No,
but these movies have earned enough trust that I'm willing to.
I don't mind that he's Gerald Robotnik if he was doing the role that he's supposed to do of he's dead and it's just him monologuing and doing that like that scene. If that was all we saw and it was like we got to see Jim Carrey do that, then that'd be fine. But I don't think it's really necessary to have him be Gerald Robotnik. Even if you wanted Gerald Robotnik to be alive, you could have had somebody else play him.
Yeah, exactly. Let's also play the game of how long do you think James Marsden is in this movie?
Oh, first like 30 minutes, maybe.
He's in the opening scene, right? That's it.
I would say he's in the opening scenes, and then maybe they interstitially cut to him once or twice throughout the movie while we see him fighting against like a robot or something like.
Are we dipping out to a wedding in this one? Do you think?
I don't know about a wedding, but I do think we'll cut between the two like we did in the last
God, I
one.
hope not.
Very, very minorly. Like he'll be in a very small amount, and then he'll be in the final scene where they're all a family again.
Probably. Or they'll kill him off and he'll never come back.
Yeah, maybe. Who could
Maybe.
say?
Maybe. That's it. That's the news. We're done with the news. We finished the news, Jordan. And it's time.
Every time.
It's time for the sponsorship, Jordan, of the episode. And as always, our very good friends over at TrophySmack.com, Jordan. They're sponsoring today's episode. And let me ask you a question, Jordan. Let's say that you wanted to tell your best friend that he's a big old loser. How would you go about doing that?
Well, I mean, on top of the things for telling people that they're winners that they have, they do have the TrophySmack.com does have a section for the losers of the world, which you can buy using our link in the description below. Justin, I might have to buy you one of those.
I mean, I might also have to buy you one, Jordan. Or if you want to say that you're a big old winner, they have all kinds of belts, all kinds of rings. We got ourselves one of these guys, and I mean, just look at that quality right there. Ooh, we can
look at the gloss.
We can do ASMR up against the mic if it's happening. Like, look how
it's got some solid wood there. You can hang it.
It's nice and sheen. And now, if you're watching this on stream right now, you have to get to see this the right side, the correct side up, because I've mirrored the camera. But look at how much that shines with the light. Ooh, it's shiny. It's got nice wood finish with these little holes. You can hang it up. That is good quality that you can receive at TrophySmack.com. Should you choose.
Trophy toppers, rings. They got dope ass wrestling belts. They have stuff for fantasy sports. They have stuff for real sports. You can get custom engravings. They have a loser section. They have wall art. You want it, you go through our link and you can get it.
And they have custom belts, so you can be the world champion of the world.
Potato.
Of the world. Nobody has to know that you bought it from TrophySmack.com. We'll keep your secret. But go to TrophySmack.com. They will connect you with some pretty cool stuff. Good quality too. On with the show, Jordan.
Do it now.
Do it now. Do it now. That was last week, Jordan.
Now.
That was last week.
Do it now.
Get to the chopper. Now.
Get to the chopper.
So today.
On with the show. This is it.
On with the show. On to the second half of the show. And today's second half of the show, we need a name for the second half of the show, Jordan. And you know what? People are all our subscribers we have now. Leave a comment. Alan Wake, bud. Oh, Alan Wake! We forgot when we were talking about our story for Alan Wake. We forgot to mention Alan Wake. Alan Wake, they're making a TV show about you, guy. We forgot to mention him.
Yeah.
But leave a comment. Tell us, what do you think we should call the second half of the show? What name should we call it? It's gonna be called the second half of the show until someone gives me a better name.
Films.
Maybe we'll change the name every week now. I don't know. But the topic of this week.
For now, until we come up with a good name.
It's just called films.
Films. Yes, that's definitely it. No, I was gonna say media analysis.
Media. Oh, wait to give it the most boring name on the planet.
That's the point. Is until someone comes up with something fun and creative, we have to use the most boring and clinical name possible.
We're just gonna call it General Media Analysis.
General media analysis until someone in the comment section,
most clinical possible name ever.
Until someone in the comment section comes up with something better.
It's not
a high bar.
It's not a high bar.
I'm sure someone can do it.
It's not a high bar for you to clear. This week we're talking. It's pick a director too. Nobody gave Jordan any good director, so he had to come up with his own. Jordan, who's the director you have selected? Whose works shall we be discussing today?
I selected Christopher Nolan.
And I have selected the works of Mr. M. Night Shyamalan.
Shyamalama Ding Dong?
No, we're not going to do the thing where we willfully mispronounce his name.
Shyamalama Ding Dong?
That's it. That's the only time you're allowed to do that. What's his name?
Shama... Longa Ding Dong!
No, we're not doing it. Yes, I did the works of M. Night Shyamalan. We're going to talk about those. So we're going to do this in our typical fashion. Jordan, let's do rapid fire. What's your first rapid fire?
I mean, I was gonna select a different one, but this feels funnier. I'm gonna begin with Batman Begins.
You basic bitch.
Oh,
Of course you
come
are.
on. The
You
synergy
couldn't.
name, the
You
work, it's great.
you
It's
couldn't.
it
You
it
couldn't.
works.
You couldn't have gone with Memento. You had to go right for
No,
Batman.
no. I had to begin with Batman because it's in the name. You begin with
I mean,
Batman. It's Batman Begins.
he very much. It's funny. It's funny. Okay, okay. I'm gonna do this just because it'll be funny. He totally ruined Batman. No, I'm kidding. Um,
No, I don't think so. I think that he has some of the. I mean, I haven't really seen most of the other ones in a long time,
I really like the
if at
first one
all.
though.
But I'm gonna state here unequivocally that these three Batman movies are my favorite.
I mean, that's totally fair. I guess my thing is like all the shit you hate in the DCEU and all that is a direct result of. It's another case of like they produced Man of Steel, so like all of that, like oh, it's annoying how everything is like ultra realistic and all that, but Batfleck and
Sure,
all that shit. It's a direct result of this. So
sure, but you can't blame the successful thing that was good. Um, for like you can't blame that. It's not its fault that it was successful and good. It's the studios who just want to print money's fault and don't want to do anything creative or
I
different
mean,
and
in
see a
that
thing
case,
and see a thing that works well once and want to try and cookie cutter slap it onto all of their characters that don't belong in that sort of style. That's
in
their fault,
it,
not this movie's
I
fault.
mean, in that case, well, I didn't say it's this movie's fault. It was Chris Nolan's fault, to be fair. Um,
No, he made movies that were about
yeah,
Batman,
but then he produced movies that were about Superman and tried to make him into Batman. So I guess that's just my point.
but he didn't direct those or write
No, but he's
those.
a producer, so he has a significant amount of power. He also helped write the story for Man. But we're not talking about Man of Steel. We're talking about Batman Begins.
Justin, we've been there. We've done that. We're not going to talk about that ever again.
We could.
Ever again.
We could.
Ever again.
Um,
This is Batman Begins. And Batman Begins is a fun movie.
before the
I
Batman
really
voice gets
like
ridiculous.
sorry, what?
Hold on. I said it's. Can you hear me?
Okay, you're gone.
Give it a second to
You're
catch
cut
up.
off. And we got the spinny circle on YouTube. And one day you'll catch up with me,
I'll catch up with you.
but it might not be today.
Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm
Can
there.
you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Batman Begins. I okay. So as much as I say I love these movies, it's hard not to address the Batman voice in the room.
Look, the Batman voice is it's at its least bad in the first one.
You are right because he's technically not Batman for a good chunk of this movie.
No, I mean even when he does the Batman voice, it's still it's not nearly as gravel. The thing is, it gets ratcheted up with each movie, and I cannot believe I saw someone say this once, and it's just like I saw someone say it's one of those things where it's hard to believe that no one pulled him aside and went, "Chris, man,
just dial it back a little
a
bit.
little bit, man." Like
Um,
it's weird that it gets worse. It almost comes across like every time he went back to do one of those movies, he couldn't quite remember how he did it the time prior, and so he just did it differently each time.
I could believe that. But I mean, this is kind of going to be a comment on all of these movies in general. I think they do a fantastic job of showing you what these characters look like in a quote unquote real world.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They're good movies,
um,
not because they're not good Batman movies. They're just good movies that have Batman in them. Like they've always operated that way.
and so I'm not going to deep dive into this one, but um, I like the version of the Scarecrow that we get in this.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
I think he does a very good. I like I even like Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul.
I wish I pointed this out to you earlier. I completely forgot about it, but apparently you can see Cillian Murphy, who plays the Scarecrow. You can see he's wearing hearing aids, which I always thought was interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I never noticed
I don't know if it's
that.
because he wears hearing aids or if it's because the character did, but someone pointed it out to me. I was like, oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
But
Also, I'd
so
be
yeah,
remiss if I didn't mention the Batman. Sorry, the Batman
Sorry,
Begins
go
video
ahead.
game. I didn't mention the Batman
Oh
Begins video
yeah.
game. That is my favorite. Well, I mean, I like the Arkham games. Don't get me wrong; they take a lot from that Batman Begins game, but that Batman Begins game will always be my favorite Batman game.
You get to interrogate people.
You straight get to interrogate people, and it's always fun. Like at one point, he just shoves a guy who has claustrophobia into a closet. He's basically the Punisher, but he doesn't kill people. It's great.
And they have like a scare meter or something like that, where you were trying to freak the people out. Right?
It's the Arkham games are obviously a more fully realized version of that, but because they were gonna do a Dark Knight game, which was a sequel to that Batman Begins game, and then it eventually just became the Arkham Asylum game. So it's like that game obviously does it better, but this has more unique scenarios I found. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this walked so it could run. But yeah, that's all I have to say without going into a full deep analysis.
Oh, Liam Neeson as
Ra's
al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul,
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he's really good.
I really like him.
Yeah, really good. One of my favorite Liam Neeson.
I like the fact. To me, this is a example of and it's funny because in other versions it doesn't really work, but I like that in this version he has the guy who looks like what you would expect Ra's al Ghul to look like.
Yeah,
who's like the cover, the fake version or whatever. And it's like I've seen other movies. I've seen other like other things, like for example in Marvel when they did I'm struggling to remember the character's name. He was in Shang-Chi. No, he wasn't in Shang-Chi. Was he in Shang-Chi?
The Mandarin?
Mandarin, that was it.
Yeah.
When they have the fake version of him in Iron Man 3, and then you find out that he's the fake version. I hate it in that. I hate that kind of storytelling beat in that, but it worked in Batman Begins.
Well, it works.
My point.
It works if you, for me anyway, retroactively, it works if you don't know who Ra's al Ghul is. Because if you know who Ra's al Ghul is, Liam Neeson just kind of looks like Ra's al Ghul. So you're like, okay, yeah, I see it now. But like when I first watched it, no, that twist totally got me because I had no idea who Ra's al Ghul was. Like it wasn't a hero I was familiar with. But now it's like I've seen him enough times that I'm like, it's not all that surprising to me now. So I imagine if you were a hardcore comic book fan, it probably wasn't all that big a twist to you. But to me, it was.
Yeah, same. But yeah, that's. I mean, one thing that I've noticed about Christopher Nolan, I guess I'll say this now, at the beginning of it all, is when he does things, he does them like he does like big ideas or big thoughts or big concepts.
That's so funny that you said that.
So with this one, for example, the idea that he was trying to get across, even though it was Batman, is that, yeah, when you're more than a man, when you're an idea or a concept, you're much harder to be destroyed than you are if you're just a mortal man.
He takes basic ideas and he expresses them in creative ways, is how I would say.
Yeah.
And I suspect you're gonna have an asterisk there. So I'm gonna say, and he always executes because I have not seen Tenet.
He always executes. He doesn't necessarily always execute well. Is what I'll say.
So that I have to say about, because that will dovetail nicely into what I have to start off to say about M. Night Shyamalan.
In defense of Tenet, with that one,
you will have your chance to defend Tenet later. All right.
Yeah, but I would personally have to say that it's not necessarily the story beats that don't work in that one. It's more actual technical issues.
Which is dumb because it's Christopher Nolan and he's a technical genius, and all of his movies are typically technical masterpieces.
Yeah.
Shall I move on to my first rapid fire?
Button pin that one. We'll get into that a little more later on. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about the beginning of my Batman.
So okay, the thing with M. Night Shyamalan, I discovered when going through his filmography, I've seen way less of his movies than I thought, and there were certain ones I thought I had seen that I got about 40 minutes into them that I was like, I definitely have not seen this movie. But my first rapid fire, I've definitely seen. Now here's the thing with M. Night Shyamalan. It's funny that you're like, Christopher Nolan has big ideas, because so does M. Night Shyamalan. The difference is he doesn't always execute them well. I find, and it's funny because I would say that I find that when he's executing other people's ideas, it tends to be better. But we're gonna come to why that's not true in the midway point of my little essay about M. Night Shyamalan. So to start off with, we're gonna talk about Signs. And with each one of these, I'm gonna ask Jordan the question. Jordan, have you heard of Signs?
Nope.
No. Okay. You have.
Maybe,
you have.
Maybe if you describe it, yeah. I would have, okay. But not by name.
The other thing with these movies is, and I'm going to say this now, they all involve twists. Okay?
What a twist!
They all have a big twist or a little twist, or there's twists involved. I'm going to, in order to talk about why these twists suck, have to talk about them.
What a twist!
What a twist! Yeah, that's where big twist came from. I'm going to have to spoil a lot of these movies and talk about them individually. Sorry, Jordan. For a lot of these, you haven't seen them. I'm going to have to give them away. I will tell you whether or not they're...
Spoilers for everyone who's listening, including Soraya on audible.com.
Yeah, Spotify.
Not Audible. Spotify.
They listen on Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah,
Spotify.
There are one Spotify
I was thinking of Spotify, and I said the other thing.
Hey, Soraya, thanks for listening on Spotify. Anyway,
thanks for tuning in.
So I'm gonna have to give away these movies, and for some of them they're good. So it's a shame I'm gonna have to, because you would probably like. It's okay.
Them. I'll just relax and close my eyes and only listen.
Also, you very rarely remember twists anyway. But let's start off with Signs. So, Jordan, Signs is you may remember it from Scary Movie 3, but I
have a terrible memory.
It's Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix, and he's a farmer and he used to be a priest, and the aliens have come to Earth, and they're like leaving crop circles, and it looks like they're slowly leaving signs that they're slowly working up to an invasion. And it's yeah, in Scary Movie 3, it's Charlie Sheen plays the character, and his wife died, and no, you don't remember this one? No? Okay. That's pretty much it. It's very weird. So the big thing with M. Night Shyamalan that people said that I never noticed until this week was everyone says, like, none of his characters speak like they're humans. Like, you're watching his movies and you're like, people just don't talk like that. So, like, everyone in this movie, basically, Michael Gibbs, there's various flashbacks to her dying throughout the movie. But at the very end, you find out that Mel Gibson's wife died because, like, some driver fell asleep behind the wheel on his way home and hit her as she was walking and pinned her up against a tree, essentially, like, slicing her in half. But she's somehow still hanging there, still alive. But the moment they move the car, she'll instantly die. So he has like one last moment to say goodbye to her.
Sure, because as soon as they move the car, all her guts are gonna spill out.
Pretty well, yeah. And so like, he as a result has like a crisis of faith. So he no longer believes in God. But everyone is trying to convince him to believe in God. Like the kids keep trying to pray. And the brother who's played by, I think I've played a clip of it where it's Joaquin Phoenix being like it's a bunch of nerds. Secret societies were invented by a bunch of nerds who didn't have any girlfriends. The dialogue's like all like that. So it's like just Mel Gibson like being like, we don't pray to God in this household anymore, and just yelling and screaming. It's so weird. But you find out that there's just the characters have different random quirks. So like the daughter constantly wants new glasses of water, and she just leaves them around the house. Joaquin Phoenix, he just wants to. He's a former failed baseball player who doesn't know when not to swing, so he just swings every time, and he has this high strikeout record because he constantly swings. And it's one of those movies where aliens are invading, but for some reason are terrorizing this small Midwestern family by leaving crop circles in their, like, you're aliens. Surely you have better things to do than to terrorize than terrorize Mel Gibson's family in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like,
nope, they've made that their only goal in
right?
life.
And so like at the end of the movie, the aliens are finally like they've shown, and the kid, the son has asthma. And so the aliens show up and they're trying to like spray this poison in the son's face, and because he has asthma, it's not working. And it turns out that the aliens are weak to water. So like all the glasses of water across the house. And then he tells Mel Gibson, swing away. So then Mel Gibson takes the baseball bat and just starts beating the hell out of the aliens with a baseball bat and like hitting them with the glasses of water. So they leave. And it just ends with Mel Gibson being like, God must be real because he made my son have this asthma ability so he didn't get sick from the aliens. Now I believe in God again. And then that's the end.
So I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the fact that you said that these aliens are weak to water and then decided to come to a planet that's like what, 70% water?
Yep, go figure, right? And they never explain it. You never really see the aliens. They don't really have a motivation beyond just kind of generically invading Earth. Like invading Earth, wanting to take over the planet is not enough of a motivation, in my opinion. Like just vaguely being like, they just kind of want to vaguely take over the world. Now, to me, that's not an interesting backstory or motivation. Like, it's what makes the Independence Day movies boring. Oh, I just want to terraform. Okay, that's not very interesting.
Yeah, it seems lazy.
But yeah, that's science. The next one's far more interesting. Anyway, what's your next one, Jordan? What's your next Christopher Nolan movie? Is it another Batman movie?
No, we're breaking them up. My next Christopher Nolan movie is Memento.
I don't think I've ever seen I've seen selections of it. I don't think I've ever seen it in its entirety. I remember watching it on TV once, but I don't think I've ever seen the full thing.
It's a really good one. In terms of Christopher Nolan big idea kind of thing, it really wants to tackle the idea of memory loss and living with the rare condition where you can't make new memories, and so the character can only remember up until his accident, and then everything after that he has to have pictures and he has tattoos all over himself and like everything and anything he can to remember stuff.
And it comes in two sections, right? The black and white and then the color, and then the black and white is the movie moving backwards, and then the black and white is it moving forwards, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember specifically. I just know that you're right. One is like the one direction and one is the other direction, and then you find out like stuff as you go. And so like in the beginning, there's the one character who like you like they make him out to be like this untrustworthy son of a bitch. And then by the end you find out, spoiler alert, by the end you find out that like he's actually an undercover cop, and you're like, oh, so he's the trustworthy one, and the one that you think is the trustworthy one isn't the trustworthy one, and it's like, this is good. It's a good movie.
And other than maybe Inception, I certainly think it's his most cerebral. Like it's kind of like it's really non-linear in that sense. Like all of his movies are very linear. They're very like B, C, D.
When you say cerebral, do you mean in a layman's term? Do you mean confusing?
Like it makes you have to think about it. Like it's not as straightforward. Like, to me, the Batman movies are super straightforward.
Oh, Batman movies are super straightforward. Yeah. I was just gonna say I would argue Tenet falls into that category. Then.
Yeah, but to be fair, I haven't seen Tenet, so I haven't seen Tenet. I do want to watch it because I've heard. We're gonna talk about it anyway. Anything? You have anything?
If you watch it, I would say if you can rent it somewhere or buy it somewhere where you'll have subtitles, do that. Don't do it the way that I did it because it's almost unwatchable without them.
We'll get there. Do you have anything further to say about Memento?
Not really. I mean, I just the acting is really good. It's always weird seeing Trinity in a thing and being like, oh, she's actually a decent actress. Right. I forget because The Matrix didn't really seem like it required a lot of acting skill.
No, it really didn't. No one in that movie has really personality. We'll talk about The Matrix another time. Shall I move on to The Village?
You shall do what you shall do, my friend.
Now tell me, Jordan, have you heard of The Village?
Nope.
You might by its reputation, because I'm pretty sure Scary Movie made fun of this movie as well, and also its twist is pretty well known. Okay, The Village. Very briefly, the thing I like about Shyamalan movies is they're short and they're easy to summarize.
Yeah, mine aren't, Justin.
The premise of this is very basically it's like I don't know how else to like an Amish kind of old like with Salem era kind of village, and they're all very like they talk in that kind of language, and they're
old New Western.
Yeah, old New Western, yeah. Where they're hidden off in the woods, they're in this village.
Midwestern, I think it is, actually.
But they are surrounded by these woods, and they are told that if they go into these woods, these mysterious evil creatures or whatever will kill them and eat them. And as the movie is, it's about the various characters. There's a daughter who's like, I think she's blind. There's a guy played by Adrian Brody who he's like developmentally disabled. And then there's one more guy. I don't remember. He's a famous guy. It's not coming to me. But anyway, it's not coming to me. He wants to. He cares about people, and he wants to leave to go get medicine, but they won't let him. And throughout the movie, you kind of see these creatures like trying to get in and get at people, and they attack him or whatever. And the Adrian Brody character becomes upset and shoots the one guy, and he's dying essentially. And in order for him to live, they have to go get medicine from what they call the towns. And it's revealed that they're not actually in like an old like 15th or 5th century whatever village, that they're actually in modern day. And these people are all like from this like therapy group of people who have all been through collective trauma, like PTSD. And they've decided to separate themselves off into this village off from people. And it turns out that the main character's dad or whatever, he's like this rich guy, and this village is in the center of reserve, animal reserve that no one's allowed to go into and no one's allowed to fly over, so no one knows that they're there. And so she leaves and runs into one of the park rangers, and he gets her the medicine, whatever she needs, and doesn't tell his boss that she's there, and she just goes back. And when she's trying to get to the towns, she gets attacked by one of the monsters and pushed in a hole, and the monster gets knocked to the side, and you find out that there are no monsters, that the monsters are just the town elders dressed up pretending to be monsters. And the Adrian Brody character found this costume and was pretending to be the monster and dies keeping the secret. And they're all like, well, we can just keep the secret still and not tell anyone in the village, so they still think that the monsters are in it. And the whole idea is that they're like not bad people. This place is just a way to escape from like their trauma. But my argument is, it's really like the twist is not bad. Like it's a really well-known twist. Oh, the village takes place in modern day, and everyone reduces it to that. But it's not a bad twist because he doesn't telegraph it. Like, you don't really see it coming. What makes it a bad twist is there's this really prolonged voiceover where all the characters in order say what their backstory is and what they're like my name is this, and one day my brother was walking home from work and he got stabbed and robbed, and like they all say what their sad backstory is just in a row over a montage right at the end. And then it does the scene where they're like, maybe we don't say anything about what happened here, and we let everyone think that the monster killed the guy and he wasn't dressed as him, and we continue the lie, and then the movie ends. So it's like it's not a bad twist. It's just poorly executed. And that's my thing. That's my thing with a lot of his movies, is they're interesting ideas. Like this idea of like this hidden village that thinks they're in the 5th century or whatever, that is actually in the modern day. It's a good twist. And the last one, like these alien invade, they're weak to simple things, but his endings never pay off. And they never work in the end, because it's just like, it's just badly executed. And also,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also just like I'm bothered by the ethics of it. Like, it's one thing for these people to go off and be in this village and not have kids and be off from society because they feel society is too dangerous, but to propagate this lie and say to their kids, to lie to their kids and let them believe that these bad things are out to get them, I think is highly unethical and goes against the very idea of this place.
Isn't that basically what the Amish do?
Yeah, no, but the Amish at least have Rumspringa. Like, that's a real thing.
I mean, fair enough. But my point is
go off and experience the world.
my point is that what you're describing, what this village essentially is a cult.
Yeah, a little
And
bit,
what you're
yeah.
describing is what you're describing is a cult. Like, so that's very much a cult mentality of, indoctrinating the next generation to
Yeah.
continue your cult and
They
keep it
try to
going.
make the case that they're not a cult because they're all like it's all for safety and it's all because they're all good people and it's not and there's no one leader. So they try to make but it is very cult like. And yeah, I was just bothered by the your intentions are good, but your actions are not, and they never address that, and that kind of
Um,
bothered me about it.
Also, the whole monster killing people and the person dressing up at it and yada yada yada. For whatever reason, as you were describing it, the first thing that came to mind was the um that show Riverdale,
Yeah, you're
where there
right.
was
Yeah,
the dude dressing up as the monster and going and killing
absolutely.
people.
My thing with his movies is a lot of his twists are so infamous. It's hard to go into these movies clean. So like
Yeah.
I'm looking for it and I know it's coming. So like it kind of it changes my viewing my read of this movie, right? So I try to put myself in the perspective of yeah, if I didn't know that that was coming, it would be dumb. It would be dumb. And to be fair, there's later ones in this where I didn't know where it was going and it was dumb. So like, you know, but yeah, that's it. That's The Village.
Yeah. Had I watched it, I would have had no idea what was coming.
It surprises me because it's a really well known twist, like really well known twist. He got made fun of it for it's right up there with I See Dead People, like that one,
Yeah.
which we'll talk
By
about.
name, no, I don't. It doesn't
Fascinating.
sound familiar to
Like
me at
there's a few
all.
of these where it will not surprise me if you've never heard of them, and if you have heard of them, I will
Uh,
be surprised.
to be fair, I don't think I've watched like pretty much any of his movies.
Fair enough. Just the bad ones. Anyway,
Um,
what's your next Christopher Nolan flick?
yeah, quite frankly, the only Shyamalan one that ever comes to mind is Avatar, and that's not a good thing.
We're going to talk about that.
My next one is Insomnia.
That movie to me is like what if Chris Nolan made an episode of Law and Order SVU and it was guest starring Robin
See what
Williams.
I could see why you would say that. It's
And it had
weird.
Al Pacino because I always forget Al Pacino's in that movie.
Well, I was gonna say it's weird. I don't think I ever in my mind would have thought that Al Pacino and Robin Williams worked together.
No, I completely forgot he was. And for me, when I think Chris Nolan, I always forget that Insomnia is a Chris Nolan movie.
I'm losing you. Hold on. Just wait. Just hold on. I can't hear what you're saying. Sorry. Hold on. Let it catch up. One day I'll hear you again.
I am. Am I back? Am I back?
You are back.
I always forget that Al Pacino's in that movie because I just don't think Al Pacino and Chris Nolan. They're just not a pair I think of.
No, no, not at all.
But to be fair, that was like towards the
so
end of. I mean, he still does stuff. That was when Al Pacino was still kind of Al Pacino.
I think it's also important to note that Robin Williams in this, he goes against his typical comedy funny man,
He's playing
and
his type, yeah.
he's very serious in this one, and it's yet again another example of that man was talented.
Yeah, from what I remember, they do a really good job of making you wonder whether or not he actually did it.
I mean, for the longest while there, I wasn't convinced that he was real. I thought that it was going to spoiler alert, I thought it was going to turn out that Al Pacino was maybe the one who did it. And like his insomnia had driven him crazy or something. Like
That'd be kind of interesting twist. If you, the end, it turns out that Robin Williams did do it, right?
Yeah. He was very much a real person who did a terrible, terrible thing, which we will not go into the details of that on YouTube.
Fair enough. I don't actually remember. Was that all you had to say about Insomnia?
It's one of those ones where if you are able to watch it, I don't want to say it's fun because that's not really the point, but it's an entertaining watch.
It's an entertaining movie, yeah.
But was there anything else? No, I guess that's it.
My next one is Knock at the Cabin, which is one of his more recent ones, and that movie is really, really good. It's Dave Bautista, Rupert Grint, and then there's two other people, and I don't remember their names. But
the one where he was in a cult.
Yeah, he shows up at their cabin while they're vacationing, and he's like, the two of you need to pick one of you needs to die in order to prevent the apocalypse. And the movie is essentially them slowly killing themselves while the apocalypse kind of happens. And then at the end, one of them does it. And it's honestly really good. Dave Bautista is really good. That's the movie. I made a video where I was like, who's the best wrestler turned actor? Because honestly, he's a really good actor and it's a really good performance. You're kind of like, I don't know that he says he's a second grade teacher. And I'm like, oh, okay. But no, yeah, I definitely believe it by the end of it. Rupert Grint, he's in it for a very short time. Standout performance from him. It made me go, man, where's Rupert Grint on a post Harry Potter career? Because like we had a Daniel Radcliffe and an Emma Watson. Where was Rupert Grint? Because man, he is good. He's good in this. There's a really good sequence where he dies. It's really good.
He was in an ice cream truck that he bought with the money that he got from Harry Potter.
And he was going to people's houses and not being able to say no. I also heard that. Apparently, he wound up at like some drag queen.
Yeah. I heard that, and they wanted to put him in drag.
Yeah. But no, it's otherwise a very good movie. Jonathan Groff is in it. I don't know who plays the boyfriend, but he's very good. All around, very good movie. The twist is kind of fun. You're never quite sure, really up until the end, whether or not it's real or not. And then at the end, you're still not sure if it's real or not. And as an adult, I love ambiguity. I think it's great. I think that's it.
I do not. I don't like ambiguity. I like my things to be cut and dry.
I like me some ambiguity.
I think we both know that I'm not all for that.
That is true. Anyway, what's your next one? What's your next
So I have one more, but it's technically the sequel to one of my picks. So Podcast Boss, I'm unclear whether I should do it now or if I should do it after my main pick.
Sorry, say that one more time.
My main pick is The Dark Knight. My rapid fire is The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I should do The Dark Knight Rises first now, and then go back to The Dark Knight, or if I should leave this until after The Dark Knight and do it then.
No, fuck it. Chaos vote. We'll do Dark Knight Rises first.
All right. So after The Dark Knight,
Chaos.
Batman retires, and
it's the Dark Knight.
And then Bane comes.
The Dark Knight Returns. It's just The Dark Knight Returns.
It's you know, yeah, but less good.
Less good.
I'm Bane.
See, it's funny that you do the.
Who I was, but I put on the mask.
I don't even bother anybody. I'm Bane. The best thing to come. See, I saw a video which was like, what's better, the Batman or Dark Knight? Dark Knight Rises. Bane makes this movie, man. It is the dumbest. I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body. So fun. It's funny just for that Harley Quinn show where the guy's doing the bad impression, and like that's so funny.
He's cheesy in all the best ways.
Absolutely.
Like he's cheesy,
but he's also not Bane.
I mean,
he's a Bino, a Bane in name only.
You know. Yeah, it is what it is. He's also not Bane in the fact that he doesn't use the Venom serum at all.
That's what I mean when I say he's Bane in name only.
But to be fair, I like what's done with him in this. I think it's an example of a fine adaptation. It's not 1-to-1, but I don't need it to be.
It's one of those ones that I appreciate it more the farther removed I get from it, because like originally, obviously, you're like, this is gonna be the follow up to The Dark Knight. Like it has to come from that. It was never gonna do that. It was never gonna live up to The Dark Knight.
No.
And once you accept it as its own movie, it's like like scenes like where he gets the Batman stabbed out of him is very funny, or like where he turns around.
Where he turns around
like, so that's what that feels like. Is like it's like a friggin' he-she sketch. Like it's very funny.
Like there's enough.
Well, maybe you're like I'm not looking for funny from my bat, but that's kind of what was that kind of levity. Is what Batman is not a humorless dick all the time. Like,
yeah, well, that's where I've seen so many people who like go back to the cartoon where like you have scenes of him keeping an eye on Harley after she's out on parole and like helping his villains actually be better instead of just locking them away.
That's why when people are like the Bale movies are like not good Batman movies, I'm like, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They're not good Batman movies. They're good movies, but they're not good. They're not a good representation of what Batman is. They represent like 1% of what Batman is, and they don't represent really what. And I'm like, that's a fair hit.
That's a fair assessment, but also by that same token, it's dumb and stupid and fun. And shut up, I like my Batman.
Yeah, it's one of the dumber ones. It's not as good as obviously the next one. But is that it? Is that it? Is all you have to say about the Dark Knight Rises?
That's all. That's all I have for rapid fire. So
Okay, I've got one last rapid fire because, fun fact, I had so much to say about Lady in the Water. I bumped.
I'm not hearing a word you're saying.
I said
Hold on.
I've,
Hold on.
I have.
Okay.
I have
Talk.
I have one last rapid fire.
Okay.
I have one last rapid fire because I have so much to say about Lady in the Water that I took it. I made an unprecedented move and I bumped a have seen. So I only have one have seen and I now have 3 have not seen. So so my last rapid fire is I just really briefly want to talk about The Sixth Sense. I think it's his best movie. I think it's the most well made. I think it's really fun because there's so much little detail in the background. Sorry, if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense and you're unfamiliar with the twist, I can't help you. Bruce Willis is dead at the end of Sixth Sense. Jordan, are you shocked?
I see dead people.
You're supposed to be like, what? Bruce Willis is dead at the end of Sixth Sense? You ruined it. You ruined the bit. Fine, I forgive you.
No, I didn't. I see dead people, and he's dead.
But it's really good. It's genuinely really good. It really is impressive when you watch that movie with a fine eye, knowing he's dead. How literally not a single character, background character, any of them interact with him. It is truly incredible.
Except for the kid.
Except for the kid, yeah. It is on, and the dog. And then there's a lot of really funny moments in that movie where once you like, if you pretend you don't know that Bruce Willis is dead, if you go back to not knowing that, which is hard to, and you're like, wait, why is the child psychiatrist at his play? Why is nobody questioning the fact that he's brought his psychiatrist to his play and his mother's not there? Like none of the adults are in the room are like that. That's not a red flag, and that just made me laugh. But I had a thought when I was watching it. I would, if I were M. Night Shyamalan, I would make a sequel to this. I know everyone's like, how do you do a sequel to Sixth Sense? And this is my pitch. I've got 2 pitches. First pitch. It's adult David. It's all of these involve adult David because it's been too long and Haley Joel Osment is an adult now. But it's adult David and he's been helping ghosts for like 20 years and he's old and bitter and they still show up and they're like scary and shit, but now he's just so done with it. He's like, whatever. That's the one thing this movie made me do. It made me go like, man, I just want to know the backstories for some of these upsetting ghosts. Like the kid who's just got the hole in the back of his head and it's like, come see my dad's gun. What did he do? How did he manage that?
He was playing with the gun, Justin.
Yeah,
how do you think that happened?
Just where the anyway. No, I want to see like a sequel where it's old David and he's still helping ghosts. Like he's basically the ghost whisperer, but he's weird and bitter now, and he's old and bitter, and he's been doing it for 30 years. Or second one, it's about a guy who he's similar story to the first one. He's like estranged from his family or whatever, and he keeps seeing ghosts and all this sort of stuff, scary shit, and go throughout the movie and he's trying to live his life and everyone's ignoring him and he can't figure out why. And then you get to the end and just Haley Joel Osment shows up and he's like, I'm David. And the twist is that it's a sequel to Sixth Sense. Just like they did for Split. Like it's a stealth sequel.
Yeah, okay, but then you have to name it in such a fashion that you have no idea that it's coming.
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, I don't know what you would call it. Like you have to be clear if I'm not like a Split. Like I'm thinking like Split. Where it's like, yeah, it's not clear in the marketing that this is a sequel to, yeah, absolutely. And then Haley Joel Osment as David just shows up, and it turns out it's been a sequel to The Sixth Sense the whole time. That would be amazing. You
have him show up, sit down on the bench,
and be like, I need to talk to you, man.
And yeah, or show up and be like, so I only see, some reference to the I see dead people line where like he shows up. And he's like,
no, I'm not. So, I'm not going to be that on the nose. I would just do it where he just calmly.
I want that.
I would have it because where he just calmly sits down on like a bench and he's like, "Hey man," And then he's just like, "What the fuck? You're talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah, we need to have a chat." And then they talk about what happened. And then you do a similar reveal.
Yeah, no, he's like, what the fuck? You're talking to me? And then he's like, yeah, I see dead people.
No, we're not doing it. I'm not doing that. It's too on the nose.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
No, it's perfect.
It is not perfect. It is way too on the nose. No, I think
no.
It's too much. It's a hat on a hat, you idiot.
It's great. It's exactly the amount of hats that I want.
No, it's too many hats. Haley Joel Osment is enough, you fool.
It's the perfect amount.
Fool. I veto.
No.
I'm using my one veto. I'm vetoing this bit.
He talks to dead people.
I refuse. I'm vetoing. I'm using my one veto a month to veto that bit. Doing it. I just vetoed it.
Okay. Fine. Damn it.
I don't know what else I'm gonna have to put up with now, but I'm using my one veto. That's it. That's The Sixth Sense. It's honestly, it's his best movie, and in my opinion, his only good movie. That's not true. That's not true. I just said not because the camera was good. It's his best movie of the ones that he wrote.
That's fair. I understand. So with that, I think we're now moving on to have scenes, are we not?
Yes, we are. It's time to hit the full report.
It's
not a good one. No, it's not a good one. It's not one of your better ones. So what's your first one that you had seen?
So my first one that I had seen, you can't talk about Christopher Nolan movies without talking about Batman and without talking about, and that's what this one is, Inception. Have you ever had a dream within a dream, Justin, where then people went into your dreams and implanted an idea into your brain, and then went like deep down into the different layers of dreams, and then there's a wife who's not alive, and she's all in the brain.
Specific detail.
There's a lot that is in this movie, and it's a great movie.
Elliot Page shows up and makes a bridge or whatever, bends a city. Although they were,
she makes a maze. Justin,
what's the character's name? We're just gonna refer to them by the character name. I feel like it's gonna be easier that way.
It's funny. Ariane, Aragade or something.
It just prevents us from making any one person mad. I feel like it's Ariane. It's gonna be difficult to pronounce.
It is Ariadne.
Ariane, yeah. We're just gonna call them that. That character is a woman.
It's Ariadne. Ariad. No, not Ariadne. Ariadne.
I don't care.
Aridne.
I'm gonna mispronounce it. It's gonna happen. Doesn't matter. Anyway, they build bridges or whatever.
No, mazes.
Whatever.
She makes mazes.
No, that movie's really good.
She's the architect.
It's my favorite.
Just call her the architect. Call her the architect.
It's my favorite Chris Nolan movie. I love The Dark Knight, but this is my favorite. I think I've seen it the most times. I love how interesting it is. Leonardo DiCaprio is really good. Tom Hardy is really good. That hallway sequence is awesome. It's very fun.
You've got the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow's in it. They're trying to convince him of something. One of the weirdest dreams I ever had. The weirdest dream I ever had was I was touching like a surface and like I could feel it, and it was like, you know, like when you have those metal freezer doors or walls or whatever, and they have like that kind of weird, those weird like diagonal thingies that give it that kind of rough texture.
Yeah, I think so.
If I could feel that, I felt it. It was so weird, and it was weird because like it was like the NPC in my dream was like doing the dialogue of the dream. Like it was just like it was doing pre-recorded dialogue, and like I was all of a sudden I was supposed to be part of this pre-recorded dialogue, and I just all of a sudden just became aware I was dreaming and not really listening. I just kept touching the metal, and I was so fascinated by the metal because I could feel it. And like it was like in the moment where like the villain like just becomes aware of something, like that's what it felt. It was so bizarre, but I could literally feel the texture. It was so weird.
See, what's funny about my dreams is, so when I go to sleep, I listen to music, right? And there's been a number of times, this has happened a lot, like enough that I'm aware that it happens sometimes, where I will hear my music in the dream.
Oh yeah, that's
Like,
happened to me.
And so because of that, there are times where whatever I'm listening to, like, it informs the dream. So like what's happening in the dream will then kind of coincide with whatever I'm listening, and like follow almost like a story or a plot.
I've had a few of those
So like
once.
a lot of times my dreams feel like movies, where it's like, for example, if it's like a song that is famously in movies that have action scenes,
Yeah.
the dream then becomes like an action scene type dream.
Yeah.
It's very, very bizarre. I've also had a lot of recurring dreams and or nightmares
Yeah.
where it's like they happen a lot or enough times that I can remember them like memories. Dreams are a weird subject, and so this movie, to bring it back to this movie, the way that it tackles them is very interesting and very funny and
But John, the
very
real
not
question
funny, but
was, was it a dream in the end?
we'll never know.
I think
Um,
I think he said he's never gonna say. Pretty sure.
We see the thing spinning and spinning and spinning, and some people swear that they can hear it stop spinning at the very end, but I've never heard it, and I
I've
can't confirm it one way or
yeah,
the other.
I think Christopher Nolan has said he will never say.
Yeah, I don't think he'll. I don't think we'll ever know
But also,
until 10 years from now when he makes Inception 2.
yep, when he eventually makes it. Also, third Michael Caine appearance. No, we haven't hit our third. We're on our second Michael Caine. Second for the purposes of the show. Second Michael Caine appearance.
Technically third because he's in both Batmans.
Well, we're counting the Batmans as one.
Okay, well then yeah, second. He is in pretty much all of the movies that I watched.
I mean, good, because Michael Caine is Michael Caine. That's a bad Michael Caine. I shouldn't have even attempted it.
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. I'm Michael Caine. Wait, no, it's bad. It's bad. It's not good. It gets worse.
Some men
just want to watch the world burn.
just want to see. Stop doing it! I need to hear myself. Some men just want to watch the world burn. Some men.
It's not
don't
good.
want money. It's not great. It's not great. It's passable.
It's not good. It's not good. It's bad. It's bad.
Mr. Wayne.
I don't think it's passable, Jordan. I'm pretty sure it's not passable.
It's passable.
You want to get back in the country, Leonardo DiCaprio? No, it's bad. I don't even know what was happening there. I tried to say Leonardo DiCaprio. It didn't work.
All right, and anyway, that's Inception. What's your favorite part of Inception?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to pick one. I again, technical. That's the one that makes
you have to pick one.
Just the technical expertise and how so much of it is done practically. I mean, the score. It's hard not to talk about the score. The bong is just that song slowed down. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, the Inception sound is literally just that song slowed down to like a certain speed. I can't remember. You're not gonna look it up and try to pronounce it, are you?
It's not. I was just gonna. It's probably right in this article.
Probably right.
Non, je ne regrette rien.
You're absolutely gonna try to pronounce it. All right. But yeah, I know. I love that movie. It's my favorite. I love The Dark Knight, and Dark Knight's close. I'm pretty sure I've seen Inception more times. I'm pretty sure I've seen Inception at least 6 or 7 times, maybe 8. I've seen both. I've seen both a lot of times. I saw it at least 5 times in theaters. I'm pretty sure. Like, it's easily one of my favorite movies.
What I like about Inception is I think the acting is really. I think my favorite part is the acting.
Really good.
Like, the acting is really, really good. It just really demonstrates each of the actors' abilities. Like, all of them are so fantastic.
Train through a city. I think that was a real train.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, I think parts of it are CGI, but I think it was a real train.
This movie was really my first real introduction to Tom Hardy as an actor.
Yep, that would be for me as well, yeah.
And he does such a good job in this. Plus, this came out in 2010, I think. 2011? 2010.
I want to say 2011.
That says Wikipedia says it's a 2010 science fiction film.
Oh, the 2010. We had it on a best of list, and I just can't remember which one. I thought it was 2011.
It came out. It came out July 8th, 2010.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I saw that movie
so
many times.
So this comes out. This comes out a year after I'm out of high school, and yeah, no, it was. I remember it being a great time.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's
that segue.
Inception.
So that tells me that I think our movies came out in the same year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was on our worst of list for that year.
This was on our worst.
No, Inception was on our best of. I'm saying mine coming next.
Okay. I was gonna say
I couldn't talk about the M. Night Shyamalan. I could not talk about him without talking about the elephant in the room.
No,
we gotta talk about Avatar, Jordan.
We don't. Oh no, Justin, you're not using M. Night Shyamalan's name for him, Justin. The Avatar.
The Avatar. See, okay, there's so much to talk about in this movie, Jordan.
Diz Inferno says Brian De Palma is my favorite director of all times.
Brian De Palma. I recognize the name. What is something he has done? I recognize the name. Give me a top 3 Brian De Palma list in the chat for me. And we gotta talk about Avatar, The Last Airbender, The Avatar. The thing about the mispronunciation that drove me crazy.
They almost should have gone. It's Avatar, The Last Airbender.
The pronunciations bother me for two reasons. Number one, M. Night Shyamalan said that he watched the show with his daughter before making this, and that's why he wanted to make this movie. That cannot be true. That has to be a lie. Because if that is true, then all of the mispronunciations are deliberate, and all of these actors were intentionally told to do that. And the other reason why it bothers me is because there are certain actors who pronounce things correctly. So like every once in a while, you get an actor who's like the Avatar. Like that's the correct way. So somebody on this set knows how to pronounce these names correctly. So this has to be intentional. It has to be.
So Dis Inferno has listed 3. Scarface.
Oh, yes.
Carrie.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
And Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay. Sorry, what was the first one? First one again, sorry?
First one, Scarface.
Scarface is really good.
Second one is Carrie. And third one is Mission Impossible.
I have never seen Carrie. And I've seen one of the Mission Impossibles, not the first one. But I have seen that one. That one's good. Yeah, that was really good. Scarface is really good. That movie's really good. But anyway,
so maybe next time that'll be your next choice.
Well, yeah, we'll take a look at some Brian De Palma next time. Yeah, it's just not a very good movie. It doesn't understand the show. I watched a video about it where I'm like, where they said, I've never seen the show, and I watched this, and I went, something's off, and that really harkened back to the first time I watched it, where we both watched it, where we were like, we've never seen the show, but even we can tell that something's gone wrong here.
It felt wrong.
It feels wrong.
Like things weren't. Yeah.
And it is very much a consequence of like squeezing 10 to 15 episodes of a show into an hour and a half movie.
Oh yeah. Like that's the thing, is it's squeezed the entire first book into the movie,
into an hour and a half. I thought it was at least 2 hours. I remember it being 2 hours. It's only an hour and a half. That's crazy. That's not enough time.
Yeah, no, like you were never gonna get it. No, like that's the issue with a lot of things like that. We've talked about this on the anime episode when I watched all the live action anime, or the Japanese episode rather, where it's like, when you try to take a season of TV and put it into an hour and a half long movie, you're never going to do a good job. It's never going to be right.
But like also with Avatar, there's a few episodes here and there where you could like split and splice out and turn into just like scenes. Like if you had made this into a 2-hour movie and you competently made it, and the thing that bothers me with this movie is it's just so cheap looking. Like the fighting looks bad. It all looks like none of the characters are right. They're all boring and dull and awful. And it doesn't feel like the person who's... Sorry, go on.
The fact that you had to have an entire squadron of earthbenders do their funky dance just to lift one rock.
The firebenders can't bend. They can't create fire. That was dumb. But then there's stuff like there's references to shit you're never gonna see in future movies, like obviously Azula
Oh
shows up at
yeah,
the end,
Azula.
or like there's a reference to Bossing Say, which I didn't even reckon, I didn't even pick up on the first time I watched that movie.
Well, I mean, why would you? We hadn't seen the show at that point.
No, yeah, but I guess I've since seen it in chunks. I've just, I guess I've completely missed that reference. But yeah, it's just not very. It's a movie that like it just kind of seems like they're like, get a famous director, but like he's so ill suited for the material. His best movies are like not this. Like they are not this.
No.
They're small. They are confined. They are constrained.
And
like
that's
he's not suited for a big budget action movie like this.
And that's where I can see I okay, here's what I'll say. I believe his daughter watched the show, and I believe he made this movie for her.
That
I don't believe I don't believe he watched the show, but I believe that, like, yeah, no, this goes against his style and his and like everything that he does. But his daughter was like, "Dad, I love this show. You should make this." And like he wanted to do it for her. That I believe.
I just cannot believe anyone who watched even an episode of this show would make this.
Yeah, exactly. Watching this movie, if you know anything about the show, or heck, even if you don't, you can tell that no, he had no love for
like,
this show.
And it's frustrating because it's a big budget Hollywood movie. Like they had the budget for this.
It just very much, it makes me think of, or I have the same vibe, I should say. I haven't watched it, so I can't speak to this, and maybe one of these days I'll find an excuse and or reason to. But there's the Netflix live action one, and I get similar vibes from that.
It's giving me real Shyamalan vibes. But it's Shyamalan vibes, but now the costumes are more accurate. Like
yeah, Shyamalama Ding Dong vibes, yeah.
But nah, bad movie. Like not all of his movies are bad. That one was bad. That's it. That's all I have.
We can acknowledge that.
We can acknowledge that. I have 3 haven't seen. Jerome, what's your last have seen? It's The Dark Knight. We all know it's The Dark Knight. We know it's The Dark Knight. We obviously know it's The Dark Knight.
Good ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man,
we are tonight's entertainment. Sorry?
I said R.I.P. to the GOAT, and I was gonna do a reference, and I couldn't think of a good one. Why so serious? That one wasn't good. Was it
why so serious?
Yeah.
I mean, great, okay. Here's
great performances all around.
Except
for maybe Maggie.
Here's what I want to say about the Dark Knight. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker. He's not my Joker 100%. Voice-wise, it's always going to be Mark Hamill. But live action wise, he's my Joker.
I would like for them to stop trying to make another one. Like we did the weird wild one once. Jared Leto didn't do it. Can we get back? Can we restrain this? Like that's my one thing about Heath Ledger's Joker is some of the influence is negative, but like it really is individually a powerful performance. And when you see him like do interviews and stuff, it's wild.
He really got into the role, and like the scene where he's at the party, and he's holding Rachel. Apparently, like Maggie Gyllenhaal was actually uncomfortable during that entire scene. Like she had no allegedly, I don't know if this is true, but like she had no idea what he was gonna do next. Basically, like he was deep in that role.
I mean, I remember my favorite scene in that movie was always the opening. That opening scene is so good, especially when they did the IMAX trailer and it was massive, and it's just the way it slowly builds, and the twist at the end of it. Oh, they just released just that as a teaser trailer. It was great.
What I love about that opening scene is so obviously they've got the different masks and stuff on, right?
Yeah.
And in the subtitles, it labels them as like grumpy, dopey, happy. Yeah. But if you didn't have subtitles on, you wouldn't get that little bit.
It's great because if you track it, you know exactly who's what and what's going on, like, and you know who the Joker is once you've seen it. You can track it. Like,
once you've seen it, you can tell by the hair. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Brilliant scene. Great scene.
It's
great
brilliant.
Opening.
There's a lot in this movie where it's like they do the Joker like a service. They do him very well in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is not always like it's not always the case for these live action superhero movies.
I wish they had done like lip service at the very least in the next one to what had happened to him. Like, it bothers me that he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Like even if they had said like, oh, he was one of the prisoners locked away in the deep bowels of
Yeah. They're like, oh, he died.
Blackgate
Okay.
prison or something.
If you just want
Or
to be like,
something. Like
yeah,
something.
just want to be like, oh, he died.
Like
Okay,
like like
I can get behind
like
that. But
if they had made a mention or had said something like after Gordon's wife and child left, Gordon beat him to death in prison
yeah, or
or
something.
something.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
something.
I'd be kind of out of character for him, but yeah, sure, I can go with it.
It was the first one I thought of. I feel like we could come up with a better
Batman just
idea,
showed up
but
and beat him until he was bloody.
no, not Batman. Batman doesn't murder.
I mean, neither
But
does
Jim
Commissioner
Gordon,
Gordon. What's your point?
but but Commissioner Gordon can.
I mean, he could be the murderer.
Police brutality. It's normal.
He could be the murderer that Gotham needs, but not the one that it wants.
Exactly. No, quite frankly, no. One of the other police cops would have killed him, and they would just blame it on Batman.
I mean, that is true. They can do that now because he's the symbol
They
they
can do
need.
that.
It's true.
He's the hero they need, but not the one it deserves. He is the Dark Knight.
It's true. It's funny for
Remember,
a while.
Justin,
I had that monologue memorized. I could do it word for word.
Remember, Justin, the night is darkest right before the dawn, and the dawn is coming.
I could that final monologue that Jim Gordon says. There was a point where I could say it word for word. I can't do it anymore because it's been so long. But yeah, at one point I could do the entire thing.
You know what's funny is that quote is my quote in my high school yearbook.
I know. It will forever be the quote in your high school yearbook. I really like it.
Will forever be. I really liked Batman, and it was how I was feeling at the time. And hey, in my defense, it was a really big movie at the time. That movie, like, people were lined up around the theater when we went. I mean, I
still love quoting it. I don't even quote the Joker. There's so many of my. You and your friends are dead, or
You and your friends are dead.
Or my other favorite. Do you have any idea who you're ripping off?
Poor choice of words.
Yeah, very poor choice of words. Or I go to China. I don't know why. Just the way he says it. Just I go to China. I take your money. I go to China. That sequence where Batman's extraditing him is also so good. Like another movie that's just a technical masterpiece.
I mean, I have a TikTok of me in doing my evil Jordan. This town deserves a better class of villain, and I'm gonna give it to them.
But yeah, not all of them. Are you crazy? Yeah. Yeah, not all of my favorite quotes are from.
I'm not.
But no, iconic portrayal of an iconic character. And it's just a good movie that happens to be a Batman movie. That's have Batman in it. It's a good movie.
And so I've been dropping the ball on this in terms of the big idea. In terms of the big idea that Christopher Nolan is trying to get across in this one, it's that the Joker is an unstoppable force or an unmovable object. Batman's an unstoppable force, one of the two. And the fact that the Joker thinks that you can corrupt anything, and Batman is an incorruptible.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is a movie about moral compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman is an incomparable, like he cannot be corrupted.
But Batman doesn't morally compromise. It's Gordon who ends up morally compromising. But that's because Batman puts him in a position of having to morally compromise. And is that in and of itself a moral compromise?
I don't know.
That's the question.
Maybe the audience will have to let us know.
That is the question. Jordan, do you have anything else to say about
the
Dark Knight?
Oh, I mean, it's an iconic movie for a reason.
That is true. So
it's a movie that comes. It's a superhero movie that comes around once in a generation. Is what I'll say about it.
I think so. I agree. And yeah, just a lot of the practical stuff just makes it still hold. Practical effects will always make your movie hold up better than a bunch of CGI. So Jordan, I'm going to give you a choice. Because now
it has Gordon Freeman in it, and that instantly makes any movie better.
True. Jordan. So now we're going to move into the haven't seens, and I'm going to go first.
Freeman, not Gordon Freeman.
I'm going to go first because I've got 3. So I'm going to give you a choice. What would you like to hear about first? These are your options: Lady in the Water, The
You are
Happening.
stuttering.
Come on, catch up. Jordan, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Verizon Wireless. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No, 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 no.
So, because I don't have a second half scene, we're gonna move right into the haven't scenes. You have a choice between 3 movies. Which one would you like to hear about first? The Beach That Makes You Old, Lady in the Water, or The Happening? It's not actually called The Beach That Makes You Old. It's called Old, but it's about the beach that makes you old.
I mean, I was gonna say okay, well then that changes things. What were the 3 options again?
You want okay? The actual names are Old, The Happening, or the Lady in the Water.
Let's go with The Happening.
The Happening. Okay. Happening.
I was gonna go with the beach that makes you old because I thought that was the name, and I was gonna be like, well, how much could he have to say about the name that with the beach that makes you old? It's in the title. It's the beach that makes you old.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's about the beach that makes you old. The Happening.
Sure, but it's not actually called that.
Okay, so The Happening. The Happening is a truly astonishing film because it's the movie with no character talks like a human. Like, oh, I forgot to mention with signs. There's a lot of weird human interactions in signs. Like, there's a point where like he's a former priest and characters just like randomly confess to him, and like the character says, I can't remember what the line is, but she says something. He's like, no, you can say that. She says, what about this? He's like, no, can't say that. And it's just really weird. And so in this movie, none of the characters speak like human beings, and the whole idea is like humans are just randomly attacking and killing each other and killing themselves just randomly out of nowhere. And so like just characters will do random freaky things, but all of the characters don't act like humans, so it doesn't really feel like it's not really effective. So like you got Mark Wahlberg, where if I had a nickel for every time Mark Wahlberg played a scientist in a movie, I'd have 2 nickels, but it's weird it happened twice because he plays a high school science teacher and he's teaching them science class, and it's not remotely believable because it's Mark Wahlberg. And so yeah.
When you say that, I then just picture Willem Dafoe, as Norman Osborn saying, "I'm something of a scientist myself."
Yeah, sort of. He just says really dumb things. It's like the Transformers movie. He's like, I'm an inventor. Oh, okay. But so basically,
are you?
All these people start doing, and it starts to happen in the cities. So people are trying to escape from the cities. And the movie is basically Mark Wahlberg. He's married to the girlfriend from Yes Man, Zooey Deschanel. That's her name. And they're trying to get away, and they leave with.
I like her. She's cute.
I forget the guy, John Leguizamo. And they leave, and John Leguizamo realizes that his wife's not there, so he goes off to another city, and he leaves their daughter with them, and he gets infected, and he ends up killing himself. And big twist of the movie, Jordan, is it turns out that the plants are doing it. It's the plants. The plants are the ones doing it.
The plants are killing people?
Yeah, the plants basically are releasing a toxin that creates a change in your brain chemistry that makes you want to kill yourself.
God damn it, Poison Ivy! Stop doing things with nature.
And initially it only affects large groups, but then as it gets stronger, it affects people individually. And the ending of the movie, you think that it's all safe, and then it turns out that oh no, it's just like a lull. It's gonna come back in full force. But the thing is no actual professional scientist in the movie says it's plants. It's just Mark Wahlberg, high school science teacher, saying it. He's like, and some random guy with a greenhouse. He's like, oh yeah, plants have feelings and they care, and he's talking to his plants. And so Mark Wahlberg at one point is like, yeah, he's right. It's the plants that are doing it. But you're like, but no actual scientist has said this. Like there's moments where you see on the news they talk about these people doing these freak things, but there's never a moment where an actual scientist says what's actually happening. So it could be anything, and there's never an explanation for it. It's dumb and the acting's bad, but it's like the thing that was so perplexing about it for me was like he knows how to make movies where people talk normal, because like in the Sixth Sense they don't talk weird in that. Like in Signs they did, but like in the happening it was forgivable because they were in like this weird village. But then like in like Split, all those movies, like they still more or less talk like regular people. But here it's like, I think I showed you the clip of him being like, "What? No!" Like that's the whole movie.
What? No.
That's the whole, and you're like, I've seen other people, I've seen these guys in other movies not act like this. Like him and Zoe Deschanel have so many weird conversations, like very weird conversations where you're like, people don't talk like this.
So I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the fact that you said, okay, so the plant things
Yeah,
control
plants.
groups of people.
Just plants, everyday plants, just plants generally.
Okay, whatever. Plants. The plants control a group of people, and then as they get stronger, they move down to controlling a singular person.
They release a toxin, and initially the toxin's only strong enough to control large masses of people. But then, as the toxin apparently gets stronger, it can control individual people. Because at the end of the movie, you know that old lady I showed.
But see, that's my sticking point. Is would it not be the opposite case where it controls a single person, and then as it gets stronger, it controls a group of? How is controlling a group of people? How is controlling a singular person stronger than a group of? I don't. That
It's
the
not
logic
Jordan.
there doesn't.
It's not a good movie. Like this is what I mean with M Night Shyamalan, where he has these good ideas or these kind of good ideas and concept of like, yeah, here's this idea of like the plants are trying to kill us. That's kind of interesting, but he executes
Sure.
it so weirdly and poorly. I saw some people say this is a good B movie. I'm like, it's not, because it doesn't make any sense.
I can't get past that fact that I couldn't watch this because that makes no sense to me. How is one stronger than seven or several or a group? That makes no sense.
It's to
It should be that
facilitate.
they control. It should be that they can control one person at a time, and then as they get stronger, then they go. That's how more means more powerful. How does shrinking down to controlling one thing? How
because
is that more powerful than multi? No.
because it facilitates a twist at the end where they show up at the old lady's house and they think they're safe, and then she becomes infected and kills them all. Well, tries to kill them all. She
But
ends up getting killed.
earlier in the movie, that was powerful enough to infect like all of them at once.
Yeah, so
How is
they
it controlling one of them at a time more impressive?
because they think, well, no, it's like large crowds of people, and so they think by being in smaller groups they're safe. So then you find out, oh no, it can now get the individual. You're not safe when you're alone, I guess is the idea. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm not. I'm just saying
I'm sorry. No, I think we need to move on because
it's the happening.
This is enraging me.
It's the happening. It's one of the worst movies of all time.
I think we need to move on from this because it's making me progressively more upset.
But that's the happening. It's a bad movie. It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
What's the first one you hadn't seen?
First one that I've seen is so here's my question, Justin. Do you like Chris? Yeah, whatever. Have you seen or do you like Hugh Jackman?
I do like Hugh Jackman.
Do you like Michael Caine?
I'm a fan of Michael Caine.
Do you like Christian Bale?
I am a fan of Christian Bale.
And do you like magic?
I do enjoy the occasional sleight of hand.
Then you should go watch The Prestige.
I have. This movie is very good. It is. It's
a very good movie.
It's so good. I mean, I guess we kind of have to. We have to talk about the twist, don't we?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. We'll leave the twist for the end because it's a fun one.
Well, I mean, we're gonna take this step by step. So, okay. First off, I want to say I was really impressed by the fact that over the course of this movie, I wasn't really sure who I was supposed to be rooting for. Was I supposed to be rooting for Christian Bale's character, or was I supposed to be rooting for Hugh Jackman's characters? Because they both did things that were awful.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I also the twist completely got me. I didn't really. I thought it was going in a different direction than it did, and I was impressed.
Yeah.
What else? The technical aspects of the like that, I believe that this was how they did magic back in the day for some of the
Oh
tricks
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, for sure. I
Um,
hear it's pretty mechanically sound,
um,
from what I understand.
um, the acting is very good. Um, what else? What else can I say that's spoiler free before we dive
Screw it. We'll jump into
into
spoilers.
the
If
twist?
you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It's good. It's very old. We're gonna spoil it. Let's spoil it. Jordan, two Christian Bales.
Yeah. So it suddenly, once you find out that, it suddenly makes that with the wife where she's like, "Oh, you love me today. Oh, you don't love me today."
Yeah,
Makes
yeah,
just a way more
yeah. They're
sense. Where it's like,
two completely
oh,
different
so it's
characters. Where the one is in love with the art and the other's in love with the woman, and they're constantly, and you're never quite sure. Apparently, if you pay attention, you can track which one is which, but you're never quite sure who's which one.
I couldn't imagine being able to because they do such a seamless job of it.
Yeah,
But it just, yeah, it makes a lot of things when you look when you then go back and retroactively look at them make sense.
yeah.
The fact that Hugh Jackman's character frames him for murder and gets him hung, and you hear the snap,
I would
and
argue
I'm
that
like,
that
oh,
you're supposed to be rooting for Hugh Jackman the whole time, and that's the moment where you find out that Hugh Jackman is actually the bad one, because like he could have used that machine for anything.
uh,
Because I think that's where you find out fully
yeah.
what the machine does, right? Yeah, he could use that machine for anything, but he didn't. He used it for a dumb magic trick.
I was a little, I was a little confused by what the machine did because I thought it was that he used it and like it was basically like he had doubles like he did when he first did the door trick, like how he hired a
Yeah, so
second person who
basically
looked like
it
him.
clones him, and then the clone steps out, and then the original dies and drowns.
Well, that's where I was gonna say I didn't really I figured it out once I read the wiki later, but I didn't really get that when
Oh,
I watched
interesting,
it.
interesting.
That's where I said I thought it was that the basically the machine was smoke and mirrors, and he had like a lookalike and he was murdering the lookalikes.
Oh no! It was very much cloning him, copying him. It was a cloning machine.
And so I didn't get that until I read it,
Yeah,
and I was like, okay,
I think.
that makes it make a little more sense.
Sure. I think the machine works differently in the movie than it does in the book. I think it's. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I can't remember. There's slight differences. I don't remember what they are right now.
Um, but overall, it's a very good movie.
Oh, it's so good.
And
Second, third favorite Chris
I
Nolan movie.
yeah, I would agree with that. For me, Dark Knight is always gonna it's always gonna be up there.
It's
I think
Inception, Dark
Inception
Knight,
is number
Prestige.
yeah, I think I would agree with that. Um,
I
so
just don't like what
unless
the
you
yawns
have
all of a sudden. Other than it's a really
anything
good
more to
movie
say,
and you should go watch it. Old timey magic.
yeah, I agree. One thought I had when I was watching this is I was like, if I had a nickel for every time Hugh Jackman played like an old Showtimey type character, I'd have at least two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Right? Um,
Showman, greatest showman in this.
yeah. It being Great Showman in this. What was I
Um,
going to say?
so what's your next have not seen?
Oh yes. So I will give you a choice. Do you want to hear about old or or Lady in the Water? Because they both hit.
So okay, before I answer that, I'm gonna answer a question with a question. Which do you like more?
Ooh. Probably old. I quite like old, even though it
Then
was
let's
fucking
go with the
weird.
lady in red, and we'll end on a high note.
Okay, so the Lady in Water is
Because
basically
Justin,
okay.
my last one is not good, so we should have a good one to end on.
Uh, okay, so this is gonna take me a bit. Lady in the Water is about Paul Giamatti. He lives in an apartment building. He is a like a superintendent of this apartment complex, and he finds this girl in the pool essentially, that is a mermaid called a narf, which is essentially
No,
Yeah, and she's hiding from a grass-covered wolf-like creature that hides by flattening its body against the turf. The creature, the lady.
This is live action, right?
Yeah, she is called Story, and she has come to. Now, here's here's my sticking point. It's never, in my opinion, 100% clear as to whether or not this is real or not. It appears to be real, but there's moments where it seems to be all like metaphorical and allegorical. So I could not figure out exactly 100% if it was real. So I'm operating under the assumption that it is real, but I don't honestly know. But okay, Story, the character, the girl, has come to the world looking for the vessel, who will be magically awakened when he meets her, and will write a book that will save humanity in the future. Yeah, Narf. She is a Narf.
Narf.
And so it turns out that this writer that she has to meet is... Oh, and I forgot to mention this up until this point. In a lot of these movies, M. Night Shyamalan is in them. He's in them as a character. At least one character, like a cameo character, side character, or just a character. Like in.
So, do you like that?
Well, okay. Sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're not. In this one.
So wait, was he in Avatar?
I think so, yeah, but I think he's a background character. He might not have been. That one I'm not 100% sure. I'm so focused on the content of that one, it's hard to know. But yeah, like in Split and Unbreakable, he's like a security guard. He's the same character in both of those movies, but he's like a security guard who happened to be at the
zoo.
Not the zoo, but in Unbreakable, he happened to be working on at the place where Bruce Willis went to, and I can't remember what his participation is in the second one, but he's supposed to be the same character. But anyway, so it turns out that this writer that Story is supposed to find is you'll never guess it, M. Night Shyamalan, playing a character named Vincent. And so it turns out, Jordan, that oh yeah, the wolf thing is called a scrunt.
What is with these names?
Yeah, you're kind of starting to get it.
Narf.
Yeah, okay. He discovers that the right. Sorry, it's just I have to read this because otherwise I'm gonna forget all these names. There's a writer called Vic Rand who is struggling to complete a cookbook that he's writing, and by meeting Story, she sharpens his inner voice and explains that the cookbook will contain ideas so significant that they will inspire a future president, a great Western. This is M. Night Shyamalan, by the way, the director and writer of this movie. Remember that. Will write something so significant that a future president, a great Midwestern orator, to greatly change the world for the better. And Vic later deduces, and Story confirms, that he will be killed because of the controversial nature of his ideas.
So he is really stroking his own ego there.
He's stroking something. Yeah.
Oh, just really stroking his ego.
Absolutely. I said this would be way more interesting if instead of just being some random guy, he was himself. Like he was just M. Night Shyamalan. He was in the middle of writing like The Sixth Sense or something. Like, yeah, it'd be equally as self-indulgent, but at least it'd be interesting.
Or if he like was friends with another famous director, like maybe Steven Spielberg, and he could do it in such a way where he was like poking fun at him, and like you name him after him, or you know what I mean?
I mean, even regardless, just have him. Yeah, I would just be like, if you must play this character, M. Night Shyamalan, just have it be you. Like, I think that'd be way more fun. And then it turns out that there's basically a trio, a group of people who are there who must support Story. Like there's like a predictor who like will read. Yeah, like there's a guild of people who will like protect her, and there's like a prophet or whatever that will read from a particular text and predict the future. And that's where it starts to be like, oh, is this metaphor? Because it's just people in the apartment. So the one guy is like one of the neighbors who like is really good at crossword puzzles, and he's reading the crossword puzzles and predicting the future, or he's trying to anyway. And it turns out that he listened to the whole bit is there's a movie reviewer who lives in the building, and the whole bit is she's a character from a storybook, like from a fairy tale, and the whole thing is he keeps going to this old Asian woman to get more details about this fairy tale, and he's trying to work out what the story is. So he goes to the movie, and the movie editor keeps making like fourth. Oh, this is the point in the movie when this happens. Oh, this is the point in the movie when this happens, and stuff like that. And so he goes to them, and he goes to the guy, and he's like, "Oh, like what characters would meet these archetypes that would be introduced earlier in the story?" And so then he goes around to all of the neighbors who have been introduced earlier in the story, and they all turn out to be part of this group or whatever. But it turns out that the movie critic is wrong because he's a movie critic, and I trusted the movie critic. I shouldn't have trusted the movie critic. I should have just trusted my own instincts. And so it turns out that the movie critic's wrong, and the wolf thing goes for the movie critic, and he's like, "Oh, this is the point where the annoying character that you hate gets killed," but he won't because this is a PG-13 rated movie. And he's like, "Oh my god, this is so pretentious."
I was gonna say this sounds really meta and self-indulgent and pretentious.
It's so pretentious. It's like, oh my god,
like he's really.
It's like it's not late enough in this career for it to be effective. It's like, it's right after a series of flops.
He's really stroking his own ego.
He's
hard.
up his own ass so hard, and it's like, yeah, again, it's like these ideas aren't like uninteresting, but because you centered yourself around them and you've been like, I'm the most important writer in the history of the world. It's so self-indulgent and egocentric. Like, I cannot I respect the gall. Like, I respect it. Like, I cannot believe he had the nerve to put this out. Like, it's incredible. But like Paul Giamatti is really good, but Bryce Dallas Howard is also really pretty good in it. But it's just the writing and the fact that he cast himself in this role. Like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
That's it.
Wow.
That's Lady in the Water.
Wow.
That is Lady in the Water.
Wow. So, I guess it's the time of the film where the super attractive co-host talks about the largely okay but not as good as the other movie. We're going to talk about Tenet.
We're going to talk about Tenet. I've heard that movie's bad.
So, see, that's where you have to... Okay. Okay, I'm finding my words here. There are things in it that I like. There are concepts in it that I don't hate. And largely my issues with it are sound mixing issues of there's characters that have accents, which immediately for me as a straight white male who is not cultured and doesn't know any other languages makes it hard for me to understand. But then you have on top of that the fact that like the music at times will be too loud while they're talking, which makes it even harder to understand.
I hear they like wear masks that muffle their voice.
There's times where like there's parts of it where he's like wearing a gas mask on his face while where it's like I can't understand a word you're saying.
I've heard that people say that he heard the Bane criticism from the Dark Knight Rises and went, "Hold my beer," and just made it worse. It's like Bane ratcheted it up to 11.
It's like he heard that and was like, okay, we're going to have that, but without any of the ADR over top so you can actually distinguish what he's saying.
Well,
and we're just going to have it be like, we're just going to have it be the camera sound.
That ADR that you're talking about, that's post release. Like when they first released it, he sounded garbled, like you could barely understand him. You can find like on YouTube, you can find what the original sounded like. It was awful.
So similar issue here. And especially like at least with Bane, what he's saying isn't complicated. It's not hard to to mentally understand, even if auditorily you can't necessarily you at least get what he's talking about. But in this movie, there's a lot more science fiction bullshit in there, like time time travel science fiction bullshit where it's like I kind of need to understand what they're talking about, and in order to do that I have to be able to hear what they're saying.
There's a lot of movies where it's
And
like,
and I
thank
just
God Wikipedia exists.
that this was one of those where it's like I finished watching the movie and I pretty immediately had to open a Wikipedia article so that I could actually understand what I had just finished
So,
watching.
okay, do your
Um
best. What is this movie actually about?
so um the protagonist, which does not have a name and is called the protagonist,
And it's just the
um
protagonist.
he's just the protagonist. He's recruited by this agency which is called Tenet. And basically, there's a weapons arms dealer who, and this is where it gets a little convoluted. Um, and I might be getting some of the details a little wrong, but his future self, basically, Tenant, the organization collects um, objects that are capable of traveling through time. And so the main bad guy, who is essentially wants to destroy all of humanity because he has cancer and is going to die. Um,
Wow, dick move,
his
bro.
future self, his future self after this one, like after or a future person or somebody, after this one specific date, basically sends the nuclear, not nuclear, but like the device that he needs to blow up and destroy everything back through time using a process where basically they make the thing or person in question make their like atoms or like their scientific mumbo jumbo bullshit move backwards basically. And so in then basically the protagonist and a couple other characters are trying to stop that apocalyptic event from happening. And
Gotcha.
so then there's scenes. There's, for example, there's a scene where they do this airport heist type thing, and the protagonist ends up fighting against these two guys that are like wearing a gas mask and like a full outfit kind of thing. And then later on in the movie, spoiler alert, you end up finding out that person that he fought was himself in the future.
All
And
right.
so
I'm
there's a
assuming
there's
this
a lot
makes sense when
like
you're
there's a
watching
lot
another
of
movie.
little bit, but not fully. Hence why I had to go and read the Wikipedia article.
Gotcha.
Um, because basically there's these devices which are called turnstiles, which when you go through it, it essentially, for lack of a better term, for lack of me being able to explain it properly, it essentially reverses your polarity. And then in
You're
terms of
right.
movie,
This
like in
does
terms of like
sound like science fiction bullshit.
in terms of like movie, like what you're seeing, essentially the character that goes through it continues to move forward while everything around them is in reverse.
Huh.
So then they can it's, and visually it looks interesting, and like for some of the fight scenes, especially when you get to the point where he's doing the same scene that he did earlier, but now
Yeah.
it's all in reverse. And so like he's doing the fights, and like so like there's a point in the original fight where like the protagonist flips the guy in the suit who you find out is protagonist, but like he flips them. So then later on, when protagonist is then fighting protagonist again, but like now he's in the suit, he does that same flip, but now it's in
But I
reverse.
don't. Why are they
And
fighting each
it
other?
looks essentially basically
Do they know they're
uh
gonna have to eventually go and do that fight? Like, how does that work? They're like, oh shit, we were
one
the ones fighting
well
ourselves.
so I'm skipping a lot of details here for the sake of brevity. Basically, protagonist at a certain point in the movie gets paired up with this one character whose name I can't remember, and it doesn't really matter.
Is that Robert
But
Patterson?
um, I think so.
I
Yeah.
just know that Robert
He
Patterson's in
gets
this movie, and he's apparently good in
yeah.
it.
I wasn't sure if it was him, but now that you've said that, yes, it was him. Um, Robert Pattinson. He gets paired up with Robert Pattinson, and so. I Are you gonna watch this?
Probably eventually.
Because I'm gonna spoil a bunch of
I
stuff.
mean, that's fine.
Okay.
But
So at the end
keep
of
it
the
brief
movie,
though.
yeah. Well, I got to go into some details
Yeah,
here.
totally fair.
Short version. One of the characters does, the protagonist doesn't. That's the short version.
Gotcha.
The
I know that Robert Pattinson
right,
knows because he's like, because I've seen a clip of him at the
Robert,
end
yeah,
walking away, being like, him being like, the guy being like, how did you know I was gonna do that? Being like, because you're the one who recruited me, and I was like, maybe that'll make sense in
yeah,
the movie. Because okay, here's my understanding of this.
yeah.
I thought it was like just the
Basically,
I
basically, yeah, the protagonist doesn't know until the very end. The very end is when he figures out that he's the one that hired everyone, including himself. So he then in the future has to do like everything that he's already done to set it up. It's a bunch of time travel bullshit.
because
Is the short
my
answer.
thing was like this movie didn't look like it actually involved actual time travel, but just like time travel mechanics, where it's like, oh, it's just about making bullets go slow. That's just what the trailers made this look like. It didn't look like they were gonna actually like go back in time. Now, I will say your description of it does intrigue me. I will say that.
It's
You know me, I love my
essentially
shit convoluted.
as I understand it, it's essentially a device which, again, it essentially reverses your polarity. So the people that have gone back in time have just existed in that polarity for long enough to go back, and that's how they send these objects back through time. Basically, is using that process.
Yeah,
It's
this sounds
I
confusing.
can't properly explain it. That's where I say
So
like
okay,
if
so
you're gonna and if you're gonna watch it with subtitles because I didn't get a lot of this because of the sound audio
okay,
issues.
is that all you had to say about Tenet?
I mean, without going into extreme detail and doing a plot by plot summary, which we don't have time
We
for.
don't have time for that. We're already put past 2 hours. We don't have time for that. So
But the short version
we
is
have one
that
more movie to do.
I don't agree. I don't agree that it's a bad movie per se. I think it's a convoluted movie that most people couldn't understand because of audio
So
issues.
I want to introduce a new segment at the end of the show. We're gonna do a little thing I'm gonna call, what's the best of the ones you watched this
The
week?
best. Oh, Inception.
What is the least best?
Oh, that has to be Tenet because of the pure technical aspects of it, where they failed and
No,
dropped
no,
the
no.
ball.
That's we're gonna get worst and least worst. So you can save Tenet for worst if you want. What is the least best of the best ones? What is the least best?
The least best? So you mean second best?
Interpret it however you wish.
Oh no, but what are your intentions when you say least best?
What's the least best? You know, of the ones that are the best, what is the least best?
Well, the least best would be the worst, and I already said what
No,
that
no,
is. That's Tenet.
we're gonna get worst and least worst. Don't worry.
You're hurting my brain. The least best is the
No,
worst.
no, we're gonna do worst. But of the ones that are the best ones, like top three, which one is the least best?
So so the second best, that would be Batman Dark Knight Rises.
Batman Dark Knight Rises. Okay, okay. What is the worst?
Tenet.
What is the least worst?
Second to worst, you mean?
Sure.
Um so second worst. I mean, the way that you're doing it is hurting my brain. It probably would have been easier just to do a list. But the second worst, I guess, or second least favorite, I guess, would be Insomnia.
Interesting. Interesting. I thought for sure you were gonna go Memento.
I like Memento.
Yeah, but it's of the ones you didn't like, or maybe you liked less. I thought
I
for
don't
sure.
know. For me, it's close between that and Memento. Like I didn't dislike either of them necessarily. It's just I
See, for me, it's a very definitive ranking.
Okay, if we're gonna get it, if we're gonna into the meat and potatoes of why I made the choice that I made, I like Robin Williams, and the idea of seeing him in a position of being that kind of person makes me uncomfortable, and I don't really like it.
That is
Which
completely
is
fair.
great,
Ooh.
like that he is very much fulfilling his role, and he is everything that role should be. I just like like Robin Williams on a personal level, and
Yeah.
I don't like seeing him
It
like
made
that.
you uncomfortable. I get it. I get it. Okay. Okay. And then one final wrap up thought about Christopher Nolan before we get to the last Shyamalan movie I did. Well,
Shamalama Ding
we
Dong.
know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be The Beach That Makes You Old. But final Christopher Nolan thoughts, Jordan.
Oh, for me, final thought, Christopher Nolan's. I mean, unlike last time when I did insert name of person who I did
You
last time
did
because I
Bobby
can't remember.
Zemeckis
Right, right, right. Christopher Nolan definitely has a style.
for sure. He has a style for sure. I said the
He
same
has a
thing about M Night
style and a
Shyamalan too.
theme, and
You can watch his movie and be like, "That's a Chris Nolan movie."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say so.
Whereas Bob Zemeckis, it was like I could be like, "Who Framed Roger Rabbit" is a Bob Zemeckis movie. You'd be like, "Really?" Unless you really know his filmography. He's just one of those directors.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's do The Beach That Makes You Old. Okay, The Beach That Makes You Old is exactly what it sounds like. There's a bunch of families. They go to this resort, and you find out there's a family. The mom, her and the husband are about to get divorced, but you also find out that she has a tumor, that she's sick, and
I think I remember the trailer for this one.
and they go on this resort. This resort's like, hey, you want to check out this beach? And M Night Shyamalan drives them to this beach, drops them off, and it turns out that it's a beach that makes them old. And that's pretty much the movie. They keep trying to get off the beach that makes them old, and they can't because it makes them dizzy. And any more than that, I have to give away the ending. You want to know why the beach makes them old, Jordan? Because I'll tell you.
I mean, do you want me to know, or do you want me to watch this movie eventually?
Okay, here's what I will say without getting into the spoilers of it. I mean, I already said I was going to spoil these movies, but it's all right. It's an okay movie. It's fun. Some of the performances are good. We'll get into why in a minute, but I mean, okay, so the beach makes them old. So there's a bunch of kids, and it's one of those movies where like the girl early on sings a song, and the mom's like, "I can't wait to see you sing when you get older," or like there's lines where it's like, "Don't waste your life," or "Don't treat your life." But like, so yeah, these so all the kids, they start off like 5 and 6. They go to age 11 to age 16, 17, 18 till they're like 50 basically, till they're adults, and all of the different people.
Yeah, like I said, I think I remember the trailer for this one.
And then there's different people on there, and like they all start to die, and they all have various illnesses and whatnot. And the big twist is it turns out that this beach was discovered years and years ago by a pharmaceutical company, and they use it to effectively treat and test like medications. So like the one lady was an epileptic who had seizures. So when it turns out the whole resort is like a front for this pharmaceutical company. So when you show up, they give you like a cocktail and you drink it and it's your medicine. And then they put you on the beach that makes you old. And then in like an afternoon, they can test a medicine that they would have to test in a lifetime. And they perfect all these like medicines and whatever. And everyone.
So how does the beach make people old?
It's the minerals and the rocks. The minerals and the rocks make you old. It affects your DNA. It makes you old.
Okay.
If you're,
I feel like that's not. I feel like that's not how that works.
It's
but
not.
Okay.
It's not, and it's not explained very well. And like, it's really fucked up because there's a bit where like obviously the kids become teenagers, but like are like young adults, but they're still effectively 6 years old. And the movie tries to lampshade it by having them be like, "Ooh, we're developing different feelings, and our brains are working differently now." But the girl ends up getting pregnant by the one kid, and she gives birth instantly. And then because of how time passes on this beach, the baby just dies, and it like breaks her for like the rest of her life, which is basically just the afternoon. And so it's just at the end of the movie,
that's horrifying,
right? And it's so unethical. It's like and they don't know that they're participating in this. That's the bit, right? And you're like, this notion of using this beach to test out pharmaceutical drugs is not in and of itself a bad one or unnoble. But like, surely you could find people with like tumors and like who have cancer who would volunteer for this, right? You would think.
I mean, you would think.
Like certainly, there's an ethical way you could do. So it ends up they find a way to escape through some coral off of because the whole thing is it's like they describe it as like when you I don't know what they call it, but when you dive down to the ocean and like really deep when you're scuba diving and then you swim up to the surface too fast and you get dizzy.
Oh, depressurization.
Something like that. There's another name for it, but basically that. And every time they try to get off the beach, the reconciliation of like the time that's passed to the time of the real world causes them to pass out, so they can't get off the beach. And so they, for like the entire afternoon, which has basically been like 30, 40 years, they try to figure out how to get off the beach. And they finally remember earlier in the movie, there's a young kid they meet when they were still kids that like basically gave them the code to get through this like coral reef, basically, that essentially insulates them, that they can make it through and get back to the real world effectively. And so they find somehow, I missed how, this journal with all of these names of all the victims, and they randomly walk up to a cop and they tap him on the shoulder and they're like, "Are you a policeman?" And he's like, "Yeah." And you think they're like dead. So it pans up, and M. Night Shyamalan is there like on like a ridge watching them with a pair of binoculars. And he's like, "Test subject 73 is trial 73 is now over." And then it cuts to the people in a lab and they're like mourning these people. And then so then you think that these two who start off as children, you think they're dead. And turns out nope, they're not dead. They give it to the cops, and all the cops come in and like arrest all of these like pharmacists in this pharmaceutical company or whatever. And at the end of the movie, they're in an in a helicopter flying away, and the police officer is like, "Yeah, did you phone your aunt?" And they're like, "Yeah." Like, how did she feel? How do you feel? How do you expect her to feel to receive a phone call from like a 50-year-old man claiming to be your 6-year-old nephew? It's like, yeah, like, and then the sister's like, "Yeah, we'll be fine."
Yeah,
I'm just left being like,
their lives are ruined.
I was just like, I'm left being like, "You're not fine. What are you talking about? You're gonna be like years of recouping. You're getting therapy. Like, you now are 50 and require a job. School. You have no education. Like you've been on an island for effectively like 40, 50 years. Like you're effectively coming into a world completely new. You were 6 yesterday." The movie just doesn't really address the ethics of like any of this. It's so
or
weird.
Lack thereof.
Or certainly lack thereof, yeah. But like, it's not a bad movie. It's an adaptation of like a graphic novel. I didn't bother to read what the original was about, but like, I think it's interesting, and I think it's definitely better acted. Like that's the one where I'm like, they all, despite being in a weird situation and doing weird things, still talk like more or less like regular people. But I had this thought, and this is how I will wrap up. Oh no, so no, we'll do best and least best. Jordan, ask me the questions.
What was the best?
That's The Sixth Sense. Easily the best.
What was the almost but not quite best?
The least best? I think I'm looking at these, and I think it's gonna be Knock at the Cabin. I really like Knock at the Cabin. That was really good. That was legit, and that was also an adaptation of a book, and it's pretty much 1-to-1. It's very surprising how faithful it is. So yeah, Knock at the Cabin. You want to know the worst?
And what was the worst?
Oh, I'm so torn because I really hated Lady in the Water. You made me stop talking about The Happening. I gotta go with the Last Airbender. That bastardized the franchise. Like, I gotta go with Last Airbender. It's gotta be Last Airbender. If that felt willful.
There was no other choice. Any other choice that you gave was gonna be wrong.
Now for the least worst, I'm torn.
So what was least worst?
I'm torn between The Happening and Lady in the Water. I'm gonna go to you based purely on what we talked about today. What do you think is the worst sounding? The pure pretentiousness of Lady in the Water.
No, that's cheating. You have to choose. I had to choose. You have to choose.
You're right. Lady in the Water. That movie's so fucking pretentious. Like, but it's like a slight edge over The Happening, because The Happening was pretty bad.
That was the only other fair choice. I mean, he's really working his ego there, Justin.
Oh, it's pretty. He's stroking it pretty good.
It's I could see why the argument for it being worst is there, because it is that egregious sounding.
Yeah, it's very egregious.
The Avatar one is so bad that people that haven't even seen the original content are capable of acknowledging that it's not
that is
faithful to the source material.
totally fair. You're right. Even if you hadn't
Which
seen
is
the source
why,
material, you know something's off. That means it's truly bad. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a fair point. That's a fair argument. I agree with that.
that's it's the same as Dragon Ball Evolution. People who didn't even know Dragon Ball were like,
Like
yeah, this doesn't feel right.
something's off with this. And my thing with the happening is I saw someone say it's like a Birdemic or like a Troll 2, and I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe, but because I know everyone involved in this can do better work, it bothers me more. Like if it has the vibe, it reminds me of like, I mean, yeah, it reminded me of Troll 2, and like that movie was made by nobody on no budget. This was like 20th Century Fox, or like it had a major studio behind it. It had money, so that is egregious in and of itself, which is why I almost said The Happening. But it's that, yeah, that, it's really up. It's The Lady in the Water is just so up its own ass.
The Happening has stupid logic that I will never understand, and it makes me upset. I will not engage with it any further, Justin. How is controlling one person more powerful than controlling a group of people? Until that can be explained to me, I will not engage.
I will say to wrap up directors too, to compare the two, which we haven't really done, which we don't do, but your guy is at least more consistent. You had one bad. I had a mix. I had a nice mix of bad in there. They weren't all bad. There were some good ones in there.
I had one bad, and I'm not laying the badness on the writing.
No,
that's the
true.
Important thing.
Or the direction.
I'm laying it. Or the direction even. Or the acting. I like the acting. I'm laying it on the technical fact of the music and the sound, and it's just
so,
which is disappointing.
So with that, we need to do the assignment for next week. And here's the thing, folks. I had a bit planned. It was going to be funny. We hit 69 subscribers this week. Wait. Hold on.
69, dude.
Let's do this properly. We hit 69. We hit 69 subscribers this week. And so as a bit, we were gonna do R-rated comedies, but then somebody unsubscribed like a couple days later, so we were at 68, and I was like, darn it. And then we picked up 2 more subscribers, so now we're at 70, so it ruined the bit. But because we hit 69 subscribers, I'm still
but we're happy to have them.
We're happy to have them. But we're still committing to the bit. We're gonna do R-rated comedies next week. That's what's coming next week. We're gonna talk about some dirty jokes, some blue comedy. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I think one of them might be old school. I was kind of feeling like maybe doing some old school. We're gonna maybe watch like 80s R-rated comedies, 70s R-rated comedies, like just some dirty comedies. That's what we're gonna do next week. But until then,
I have an idea. Even if you don't,
I mean, one of us is probably gonna do one or more of the Hangover movies, but that's next week. That's the end of the show. Jordan, where can they find you? If they want to find you.
I do Minecraft Mondays on Twitch on Zethgore187, and I am one half of an award-winning podcast every Saturday here on YouTube at 11 our time.
Temporarily on Saturdays until my schedule gets screwed, which is inevitable. But
forever on Saturdays every weekend.
You can find me. Oh, I should do a plug on coming on September the 8th. Oh, I should put the I'm going to learn how to play video clips on here well, and then maybe one of these days we'll close on it. But I have a new show coming out. It is called The Final Frontier. I can't. I would have to load it up on YouTube. It would take too long, and we're already running long. But it's called The Final Frontier.
Damn it, Justin.
The Final Frontier podcast.
I set you up.
Maybe when Jake comes on before we go live, I'll get him to quickly show me how to load it so it does it properly. But me and our good friend Jake from the Arte podcast, and we're doing a new podcast together. It's going to be Star Trek. It's going to be way more organized than this. I love our chaos, but it's not chaos. There is notes. We take notes. We learn some stuff. I am learning a ton about Star Trek. So the pilot for that comes out on September the 8th. I will put the link to the channel in the description. please go subscribe to them. All 70 of you, if I could get you guys to all go subscribe to us over there. Maybe Jordan will show up one day. Me and Jake have discussed guest stars. But that definitely means we're gonna be doing a Star Trek episode coming in the future. That's coming soon. Jake will be on for that. I guess Jake's coming on to talk about some animation in a couple of weeks. That's fun. You can find me on TikTok at Justin Spurr. I occasionally do stuff similar to this. We have a page on TikTok. We are the Spurr of the Moment P on TikTok. That's linked obviously in the description. Okay. You can email the show if you want us to sell anything. Try to look less sketchy when you do, though. I've gotten some emails from some companies that feel sketchy, so I don't know if you're legit or not. Maybe indicate if you're legit or not. I don't know how you can do that, but we would love to sell your shit. We sell Trophy Smack like crazy. We'd love to sell your stuff. So you can email the show at itsjustinsbusiness@gmail.com. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else to cover for this week? Discord, yes, Discord. I try to keep the link updated. It expires every 7 days. It's really frustrating. I hate it, but I try to keep it updated. You can follow us over there. That's where we film the show. If anyone wants to be on the show, you can either email me or you can message me on the Discord or on TikTok or wherever. Instagram. I'm on Instagram. And we can talk. We can find an episode topic for you. We will take anyone. We love talking to people. But with that, we will see you all next week. Hey, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.